Dun, 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 dun. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, man. Cover. 20 hours ago. Cover. 20 hours ago. There we go. You freaking thing. Ooh. Huh. That's interesting, though. That's interesting, though. Ba 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 ba. There we go. There we go. Okay, let's see what's going on the internet. Okay, the dark side. Wow. That's a small watch. What happened? Lancaster. When you pay for internet in these empty buildings, WNBA, Greenfield tornado, judge removed, Tulsi Gabbard, McKenna West, 2 patients paralyzed.
This morning, some families are demanding answers after a dangerous mix-up at a Tennessee hospital. 4 patients experienced complications. The patients were undergoing a routine joint replacement surgeries. They received potassium instead of standard pain medication. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is now investigating this. Let's go live now.
Somebody swapped it. Somebody said.
Nicole, what can you tell us?
Somebody said, "Oh, I'm going to take this and replace it with potassium. I'm going to go off in the bathroom and do the."
About the 4 patients and the complications they experienced.
Well, Liz, I should point out that some of those families have spoken with our CBS affiliate in Nashville. They are telling us that at least some of those 4 people that were impacted by this drug mix-up, as you mentioned, were given potassium instead of what was supposed to be a standard anesthetic prior to the start of what is usually a very quick outpatient procedure. But unfortunately, 2 of those patients have alleged that they are now paralyzed as a result of receiving that potassium. So that is really the big concern here for those families who now say that, you know, they are going to have to live with these consequences for what could be the rest of their lives here. What we're told is that they believe the mix-up happened inside the hospital's pharmacy and that those syringes were filled with the mistaken drug prior to it being administered to them in the hospital. Now, I will point out that Ascension St. Thomas Hospital in Midtown here in Nashville has released a statement. They're only calling this an event and have not really given a lot of specific details as to how this could have happened, but they have said that they've not only launched their own investigation, they've identified the cause of what happened here and have since implemented corrective safeguards, Liz.
And Nicole, what has the hospital said about how the medication mix-up happened, and what is it doing to prevent this from ever happening again? This was
what up, John? So listen, they were supposed to get painkiller, and they said there was a mix-up in the pharmacy. So what I'm wondering is, did somebody in the pharmacy have a habit and say, well, I'll take these opiates and just replace it with some potassium? This is why I don't. What up, Isle? This is why I don't get surgeries done at reputable hospitals. Too many risks. Too many risks.
It is serious, and it's scary for a lot of people, especially to hear about it, let alone to have this happen to you or someone in your family. Again, the hospital hasn't really revealed a lot about the situation.
Right, because the thing is, like potassium is not just potassium. Like there's lots of different types of potassium. Potassium what? Also.
And from what we're told by not only several medical experts,
Like
but several
potassium cyanide?
medical malpractice attorneys, it's unlikely that the hospital will give any more detail, not only because of the privacy laws that have to do with their patients, but truthfully because
A
they want
lawsuit.
to figure out how to resolve this internally. And there's a lot of privacy laws that come into
They
that. Again, they said that they've
they
implemented
paralyzed a few
corrective
people.
safeguards. What those new safeguards are in
And
comparison to what the hospitals
right, wait, what are your new safeguards? What do you mean? How do you not mix up an electrolyte and pain drugs? Potassium apple juice?
safety protocols already were in relation
Right.
to how drugs are distributed from that pharmacy is unfortunately unclear here. But you got to imagine that there are a lot of people right now that are really struck by this. And it seems
Especially
as if
the
those
two
families
people that are
are
paralyzed
looking
now.
to seek out some legal help in this situation.
Yeah, I'm sure the legal help's
Cortez, thank you so much.
exactly what they're going to be seeking out for. I was like, but at least your potassium levels are good. There's always a bright side, right? Your potassium levels are great. Freaking crazy. All right, let's see what we can find here on the internet. Minor surgery that follows. They were wrong about removing kids' tonsils. We need to pay pharmacists more. They're under so much stress. Right. That's why they had to swap out their electrolytes for opiates and to put their electrolytes in. Man, I used to know a guy back in Baltimore. Well, yeah, back when I lived in Baltimore. A guy that lived in Baltimore. So yes, I was just correct. He was a pharmacy tech, and like he was the guy to go to if you wanted pills, because like he would take an empty Coca-Cola can into work with him and just act like he was drinking from it. He put sand in the bottom of it so it wasn't empty. And like as he was dispensing pills, he would just take a couple, and then when he went to go grab his freaking soda, he would drop a couple pills in there because there was just sand in the bottom. So I guess it wouldn't go dink, 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 dink when it hit the bottom. And he did that for freaking years before he got caught. Bam! Thank you, Robert. Da, 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 da. In black and white. Da, 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 da. Thank you, brother. What a lovely Friday, you tender man. Thank you, my brother Robert. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, my friend. Okay, let's see. We were wrong for decades. And this is what's going to happen with the. So now it looks like they were wrong about having to remove tonsils. And how many years of kids getting their tonsils removed? And trust me, in another 5 years, we're going to be hearing this. We were wrong about for kids. Let's see. Death toll rises after gold mine in Central Africa collapses.
More than 100 people
aren't what labeled? Everything's labeled. If you're talking about what you talking about, my buddy, or you talking about in the story we just watched, the pharmacy. Yeah, everything's labeled. The pills are stamped. Everything's labeled. Even the potassium. Everything should have a barcode or a QR code that's scanned. Even if they have like one that they take a dose out of, like they like distribute, like if they have like full potency, something that needs to be diluted, like say insulin. You can have insulin, but somebody gets it diluted, so you have a master vial that you take out, and then you put whatever 10 cc whatever, and then you mix it with whatever you're mixing it with, and then you have a separate syringe to take that mixture and to administer it. What up, Thadiel? But yeah, but back then, like 20, 30 years ago, a lot of pills were just lost. How do you think people could sell pills like on the street? And they called them diverted pills. They didn't call them stolen. They call them diverted, which means they were supposed to go to a customer, to a client, to a patient, but they ended up going somewhere else.
Now known to have died after part of an illegal gold mine in the Central African Republic collapsed. Red Cross volunteers say that hopes of finding survivors are fading. Local officials said several underground tunnels in
Look
which
at
the
all
miners
these
were working
people.
collapsed, causing a landslide. They expect many more bodies to be unearthed during recovery operations. The mine is one of
Just
many in the
covering
region
people.
that are unregulated, where prospectors dig with little or no high-tech equipment and few safety precautions. And for more, let's bring in DW's Azizat Olaoluwa, who has
Jeez,
been
my
following
ex-wife
developments
diverted
in
me.
Lagos. So we have reports saying that rescuers are continuing to recover bodies. Where do the rescue efforts stand right now?
I need to switch mics. Well, 6 days.
I understand that the
Hopefully I'll
rescue
be in
effort
a
is
new
still
studio in 6
ongoing.
days.
An official of Red Cross in the country said that they rescued about 10, recovered 10 bodies, more than 10 bodies earlier in the day. And it seems like every hour more bodies are being found, piling on the number of those that are dead. And there are worries that the many people that are still underground may not be rescued alive anymore. And we also
Because they were covered with dirt, sand. They weren't covered with buildings that have gaps and air spaces and whatnot in between, like the one wall falls over onto another wall and leaves a space for somebody to survive. This is just dirt. Man. Well, they found it to the golden land, the promised land.
also understand, according to some eyewitnesses, that it seems that authorities lack the expertise and they don't even have the machinery to carry out any more rescue effort because they don't understand how to go about it. They complain that the machinery they are using is too heavy for such sensitive rescue
Right.
operation.
What are you going to do?
So there are
What are you
worries
going to do? Get a front end loader to just start digging the dirt out, chopping people up?
Very few people could be found alive, if any.
And I mean, this was.
And I guarantee that in a couple of weeks, when this is all said and done and over with, those people are going to be right back at it trying to find gold because it's an illegal gold operation. So what it was probably a for-profit gold mine that got to the point that the amount of gold they were pulling out per day didn't reach profitability, so they shut down and left. And then the locals were like, "There's gold in Demdar Hills," and they, there's 1,000 people there or more.
We're looking at really dramatic footages here. We have to say, this was a low tech
And were there caves?
Artisanal gold mine.
Artisanal,
Do we know
right? That's
how
what they
this
call it.
collapse happened?
An artisanal gold mine is when it's not professional. Artisanal. These are artisans there. Like it's the workers are not going to be punished. The workers are going to be punished for not finding the gold.
We understand that investigation is ongoing. Authorities have set up a judicial inquiry into what happened. They want to find out, first of all, who was running that operation and at what scale, because hundreds of people were there present. But someone inside that knows how artisanal mining is done in the country said that perhaps it's due to several mining tunnels that these artisanal miners already dug underground. So perhaps they collapsed all together at the same time, causing that landslide that, submerged many people and buried them alive.
How common are incidents like these in the Central African Republic? Because, I mean, there's said to be several thousand people who work in small-scale extraction mines like these.
Artisanal.
Well, that's a $1 million question because opposition figures have even come out to question why authorities have not clamped down on this artisanal mining business in the country, because it is not well regulated. The structures are not well put in place. So these people pretty much dig with their hands, in order to make a living for their families. And there are hundreds of people, able-bodied young men in the country, who believe that this is their main source of income, and they treat it as such. So they put in their all to be able to get whatever gold they can mine in order to survive. It is not well regulated. People want investigation to be independent, so that whoever doesn't even do their job, that is part of the government that is supposed to regulate it, should be brought to book.
Can you tell us a little bit more on that point? I mean, about the safety precautions.
I can answer that for you. Zero. There was zero safety precautions. There wasn't no timber anywhere around there. The only thing I saw was sandbags, and that was to probably keep groundwater from flowing in. Jeez, man. Bad day. Bad day. Let's see. What do I got going on here? There we go. There we go. All right. Bill Gates' daughter just got caught in a huge scam, apparently. No way. Never mind. Yeah, rough day, brother. Rough day to be African. Imagine sculpting evolution. I don't want to hear that crap. Video footage flooding across New York. Federal government announces final water reduction plan for Arizona. Fatal plane crash. Lung damage. Lithium ion damage. Let's see. This guy's got a big old mustache.
Little ditty about Jack and Diana. Two Wyoming kids doing the best they can. While drinking coffee, Diana smells something strange. A bit odd, like spilled paint. She looked at the battery she'd been charging for a while. It's visibly swollen. Well, that's not good. She picks it up. It starts to smoke. She throws it on a rug near the door.
That's not a good idea either.
You're really lucky I didn't sing that. This is Stashed. I'm Pat,
we can go
firefighter,
back
mechanical
to it.
engineer, and battery guy.
It's the same thing it always is. Doctors or researchers are closer to explaining evolution in the lab. And it's just like, oh, we almost made part of a sugar almost. Can we get a couple more $1 million and a couple more years to research this? We're almost there. We're almost there. It's the same thing it always is. Same thing it always is.
With a battery smoking on the floor, Jack is a volunteer firefighter, and he doesn't
one of the biggest financial freaking scams in science is the study the chemistry of evolution, because they got no idea. The thing is, they need multi-million-dollar labs, clean rooms, purified water, purified chemistry, and they expect to say, oh, this all happened in the ocean, when there was nothing pure, shit mixed together all the time. Yeah, it just doesn't work. It's just crap. We made a protein in an environment that's toxic to all life. And it's not just that. It's not just that. There's right-handed and left-handed. It's called chimerism. So molecules have and proteins. The body uses almost primarily left-handed amino acids. So, but when you mix chemicals to make amino acids, they come out both forms. You only need one form. How do you purify that in a puddle in old Earth? You don't. And they're doing this in labs, and they're saying, oh, they're buying the pre-sorted left-handed chemicals, molecules, and then they're saying, oh, look what we can make happen. Great. How did that happen at the beginning of humanity? How did it happen in a puddle? How did you get that? You bought it. You bought those initial chemicals. Not that you just dumped a bunch of shit in a jar and then all of a sudden you look there. It just doesn't work. I'm tired of it. Evolution is always evolving and how it grifts. Exactly. It's a brilliant grift, because then whatever you do, the steps you get closer, which still the closer they think they get, the more complex they realize that life is. So it moves the goalpost away so that they can just get funding forever and ever and ever. Not only funding, but then whatever that they learn, they can then add into a curriculum, so they could write new textbooks about it and then sell those textbooks and curriculums to colleges all around the world. And then people can learn that until it's proven wrong again. And then somebody else that from those same initial research facilities we'll go to the next step, which will move it farther down the line. It's just a complete whack. Abiogenesis, yeah, Abiogenesis is supposed to be the automatic creation events. Right? What up, Georgie? I'm here today to show my support. Thank you, brother. Hit the like button. Hit like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, ring the bell.
Grab water.
Right.
He just grabs a towel to get that battery outside on a concrete pad. Diana, she calls 911, and the fire's out in under a minute. Now, honestly, I probably would have done the same thing, But unfortunately, that move landed Jack in the hospital. But it wasn't right away. A few days after the incident, Jack was driving to the post office. His vision started to go bad. His eyesight changed for the worst, and it was almost instantly. He ended up calling the VA clinic, explained what happened, and they told him to go to the emergency room immediately. He ends up at a hospital in Idaho. Vision changes, chest tightness, confusion, and a stutter that he didn't have before. When a lithium-ion battery fails, the vapor released is highly toxic. But more importantly, we don't fully understand the long-term or short-term health effects of the exposure.
Our intelligence cannot forcibly spawn life from non-life. It's almost like it requires a miracle. Almost. Dad.
So, what type of battery failed? And how does this line up with 2 case studies in a recent medical journal? This is the battery that failed.
What pisses me off
from
even worse, even worse? What pisses me off even worse is how if they have spent so much time dissecting the cell, forcing expression of genes out of chromosomes, they know how the human body works. They know the pH levels. They know the osmosis or the gradients, the salt gradients needed, the electrolytes that's required, and they don't use that for health. Because that's a different freaking that's a different subject. We don't worry about what so they know what cells need to thrive. And they like for instance, I've been on this potassium thing lately. Oddly enough, it just came up in the stream earlier. Potassium, almost everybody in America is deficient in potassium. You're supposed to get almost let's just say about 4,000 milligrams of potassium a day. That's like 8 bananas a day, every day, right? So we know this type of stuff. We don't put it out in the schools. We don't let the kids know. We know that we have colonies of bacteria in our guts that make B vitamins and eat B vitamins to make different B vitamins. So we know gut bacteria is in a very bad shape generally for the population, but we don't tell people this. And just a few months of being on all the B vitamins, you can repopulate the parts of your gut that need to be repopulated. They don't tell anybody that because it's such a huge industry. And if they're down here saying, we've almost made a cell, great. So you know exactly what that cell needs, right? Why aren't you using that data and saying, hey, humans, this is what you guys should be doing out here to survive and thrive? Because it's an industry. It's a huge industry. He's a theist. 2 words. I'm a young earth creationist. I believe Genesis is literal. I do too.
And it's a jump starter.
And listen, I didn't until my 40s. Absolutely not. I was absolutely freaking, you guys are all stupid. The puddle in the side of the earth getting hit by lightning is absolutely the way it happened, and I'm going to figure out how. And the more you learn, the more you realize that you didn't have to spend all this time learning all this, because there's a book that was written like a little while ago that tells you all about how everything happened. And having learned, if I would have gotten to this conclusion quicker had I've been a creationist. Had I said to myself, okay, something very brilliant created this whole thing here, and now let's figure out how it's done. And then when you start learning more and you start going back into the older history books, like when you start looking into freaking Isaac Newton, and like he developed calculus in 1665. Trying to figure out how God made the universe, and this was the driving factor, and this is something that if you look into the what are those freaking things called? Those awards, Nobel Prizes, like the Nobel Prize for chemistry is like almost every single person that has a Nobel Prize for chemistry has publicly said, no, this wasn't no accident. What up, Edward? Camera quality improved by network connectivity. So it's the same camera I've been using for a couple of months. Definitely since you've been here before. Richard has always been reinvesting in children. That's right. I dated a Latina once who worked at a bank, and her agreement was I stay in bed all day every way as she worked. I went crazy. Yeah, don't do that. Don't ever do that, Georgie. A little scientist will make you a little science will make you an atheist. A lot of science will bend you knee. Yeah. And religion will F you from behind. Well, organized religion, right? Right. Your religion should be you. Your religion should be you understanding the data the best you can get, and you have to understand one very important thing: science, by definition, is repeatable. History, by definition, is not. So you can't, you could use science to try to prove things from history if you still have access to, or if you could use like archaeology and stuff to prove those things, but you cannot prove things that you cannot repeat scientifically. You can't do it. They're different things. Theology is different than physics. It's different. They're different subjects, but people will like to tell you, no, science proved there was no creation. No, there's no, science can prove there's no God. Great. So then they're just willing to lie to you. And then you go back to the book, the word, and it says the devil is a lie. Deception is the problem. People that are willing to lie to you to control you. And then you start to realize, oh, everything seems to be a lie. I can't fit history into a test tube, right? Why do you look like a certain bad man? Which one? Which certain bad man, boxing barrister? Well, while you're thinking about that, we'll get back here.
All in one. The fire chief on scene specifically stated that the battery had no UL listing. UL, Underwriters Laboratory, is one of the primary independent testing organizations that verify whether a product has been built to a safety standard. No stamp or mark means no third-party
like
lab
Epstein,
tested the cells inside.
And a hell of a lot younger. I'm not even 50. Does gunpowder Mike smell? Does the gunpowder? No, it doesn't smell like gunpowder. He's saying my name out loud. Aisle. Yeah, the shotgun shell. This is actually called a shotgun mic. And I've got another mic right here. It's all right. It's all right, brother boxing barrister.
Verified that the electronics inside are designed safely. Now, let's talk about the gases released during a failure like this.
Tell me.
And why breathing this stuff in is pretty terrible. When a lithium-ion battery goes into thermal runaway, it doesn't just produce heat or flames. It produces gas, a vapor cloud, and it does it fast, incredibly fast. One of the gases is carbon monoxide. I talk about it a lot. Hopefully you have a carbon monoxide detector in your house. If you do, go check the batteries.
I did.
When you're done watching this video.
Yeah,
if you
when
don't,
you're done,
go out and buy one. Install it in your house. That alarm should start beeping at 35 parts per million. Carbon monoxide exposure is hazardous over time at lower concentrations. The level considered immediately dangerous to life and health, the IDLH, is 1,200 parts per million. Based on the specs I'm seeing for this battery, I estimate roughly 225 watt-hours of storage, and that going into thermal runaway in a standard living room, you're potentially looking at CO concentrations upwards of 20,000 parts per million.
That's a lot.
An e-bike in that same space can push that well over 50,000 parts per million. Now, at 12,800 parts per million, you lose consciousness within a minute. And this guy experienced an exposure that was likely double that number, but only for a short moment in time.
Right.
However, CO isn't the only thing coming out of these batteries. You've got all sorts of hydrocarbons, carbonates, gases that are a little bit on the acidic side.
Randor, 20 years.
Also metals, lithium, manganese, cobalt, aluminum, copper. There's just a lot of stuff in the vapor cloud.
Don't hang out with people like that, Georgie.
A peer-reviewed paper was published in a medical journal out of the National Burns Unit in St. James Hospital in Dublin, Ireland. I'll link that in the description below. It covers 2 patients, 2 separate e-bike battery fires, both indoors, both wall charging. And I want to walk through both of them because what happened to these people connects directly to what happened to Jack.
Live FD, firefighters on shift.
That was Live FD. Like, subscribe, and follow everywhere. I've spent a lot of time talking about carbon monoxide. And both patients discussed in this paper, they showed evidence of CO exposure in their blood work. And that's expected. But the lung destruction in both cases was far beyond what carbon monoxide exposure would explain. That's because when lithium-ion batteries burn, one of the other gases they release is hydrogen fluoride. When it comes into contact with moisture, including the moisture in your airways, it becomes hydrofluoric acid. And hydrofluoric acid isn't like a typical acid where you feel it immediately. It penetrates tissue, it binds to the calcium in your body, and it actually sucks it out. And it can be quietly destroying your lungs while you still feel like you're breathing okay. That delay is part of what makes it so dangerous. Patient 1, a man in his 30s, experienced burns covering 30% of his body when his e-bike battery ignited during charging. As you can imagine, he was transferred to a national burn unit. The burns, they started to heal, but the lungs, not so much. Over the first 5 days, his breathing got worse, not better. By day 13, CT scans showed his lung tissue was being destroyed, air pockets forming where healthy tissue used to be.
You think they would have some sort of like inhalable base, like something to counteract the acid, like, you know, like vinegar and baking soda, like baking soda, something that would, an inhalable base to counteract you. I mean, especially if 30% of your body is burnt and you know it's from a freaking lithium ion battery.
Basically, chemical burns on the inside. He ended up on a ventilator for 45 days. Thankfully, he did survive, but he never got back to 100%. At the 2-year follow-up for this study, his exercise tolerance was still significantly reduced. Again, that was 2 years later. Patient 2, a 37-year-old man, same type of scenario. E-bike battery fails while charging indoors. But he experienced burns covering nearly half his body.
That's a
Early
lot.
on, the initial airway exam
What up, little native mama?
Upper airways had some
Still don't have any water. I'm hanging in there, but I'm kind of over it, honestly. Jeez. And you didn't have any bottled water? I guess, yeah. So next time when you have water, bottle some damn water, buy a bunch of water. You nearly hit by e-bikes every day. I'm nearly hit every day by e-bikes. Jeez, you bought some. So I highly recommend having, like, I have 200. I have 1,000 gallons of stored water from a well I dug. But it doesn't fill quickly, so it takes a couple of months to fill it up, and it collects the rainwater and also puts it in there also. And then I have external filters, so I use it to water the lawn and the plants and everything. But if I have an event where I don't have any city water, I can filter that water and drink it. But yeah, having 100 gallons or so, even 50 gallons. What's going on in here? We've been spending far much time in the sticks here in C2 Connecticut this summer, getting away from them. Why do we hate them? Because they're dangerous. The lithium ion batteries. So listen, there are so many better technologies besides lithium ion. Like for instance, carbon silver. Now they're a little more expensive, but they'll give you twice the distance on an e-bike or an electric vehicle car. And they charge in 6 minutes. And they don't do this. They don't burn when they just short circuit and whatnot. I leave my apartment immediately. Readiness required. You need to wear a hat. I don't remember your real name. I remember the first name you had here, Necromancer. I don't remember your real name, though. Can't relax. Head on a swivel, yeah. Oh, e-bikes? Is that what you're saying, Boxing Barrister? Is that what you're saying? Why do we hate e-bikes? I don't hate e-bikes. I mean, I don't hate anything. I just dislike assholes. Like people that like want to try to run you down for shits and giggles and stuff. Kalstube. Yeah, I couldn't remember that. I'll try my best, brother. I have 15 gallons saved for flushing my nerd for me to fill buckets. Robert's a hater. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, e-bikes can be used for great things. You can go out and explore. Most people, listen, when I was a kid, I broke the snows a bunch of times skateboarding. I was a skateboarder. I would skateboard. I would go out for miles and miles and miles, skateboard, visit, go check out places. And then, once you get to places you can't go, you get a mountain bike, and then you can go further and further. And e-bikes make that more available because so many kids, especially that grew up during the COVID time, they don't really do anything, but they're on the internet. So having e-bikes to give them the availability to get out into the wild, but the people that just use them to terrorize people in the streets, that's what you do. Yeah, you definitely want to protect your kids. Yeah. Now you wouldn't expect it. You wouldn't expect it, Edward, especially what you read from the news, right? Or what you hear from the news, because, like I said, the news doesn't tell you, oh, there was another great day where a family of 4 went out for a picnic in freaking small town America. You don't hear that. You only hear about the worst of what's going on.
But deeper down, things appear to be preserved. Burns were serious but manageable. And then his lungs started to degrade.
Oops.
Within a week, he's in severe respiratory failure. They tried multiple ventilator strategies. Nothing worked.
Uh-oh.
Ultimately, they put him on
news focus on
a machine that takes
it's
blood.
very important to remember that the news, at least in America and pretty much the UK, is a show about sex and violence, plain and simple. They want to sell. They want eyeballs glued to them, and so people can see ads, so they can sell ad space to advertisers. I always have 15 gallons for flushing. My neighbors let me fill the buckets just for it's frustrating. I want a shower. There's Horbath is not cutting it anymore. Right away. Oh, jeez. The good old Horbath. APT, armpits, privates, and toes.
Blood out of his body, oxygenates it externally, and puts it back in. That was basically the last option. After 18 days on ECMO, they do another CT scan. His lungs are completely white on the image. No air moving through them at all.
That's not good.
Externally, his burns were healing. Internally, his lungs were destroyed. Unfortunately, he didn't make it.
Doesn't look like it.
The paper's author brought up a critical detail about both cases. The lung damage didn't line up with what the initial airway exam showed. Things didn't look that bad initially. The injury was developing silently. And they specifically called out that it seemed like the respiratory failure seemed a lot worse than it should have been, especially based on the early exams.
Damn.
I don't talk about hydrogen fluoride much,
APT.
because if you look at the research on the large-scale battery fires, EV fires, energy storage systems, you'll notice that hydrogen fluoride doesn't typically show up in the gas measurements. HF is extremely reactive.
Yeah.
It doesn't just sit in the air waiting to be sampled. It's already binding to surfaces and moisture by the time you're trying to measure it. And in a large battery-related fire, you have thousands of pounds of other material burning.
Yeah, that's no bueno. That's no bueno. That shit. I'll kill you. Yeah, and these are the types of things that I don't know if they teach kids in school these days. Like a lot of kids are going to experience electric skateboards, electric bikes, if not theirs, from their friends or whatever, and not charging them indoors is freaking super important. Jeez. All right, let's see what's going on the internet here. Man. Okay. All right, let's see. They always learn the hard way. All right, let's see if I can find that thing about evolution. Surrogates, sued, grabbed her after court. Use kids as a shield. Jeez. Blue topaz with a particle accelerator. All right, plane crash, fire. Still negative. My water cooler. What? Felines being impacted by deadly contagion. I got in trouble for using Castile soap in the river. Some game warden gave me a warning. Really? You said it's Castile soap. Oh no. Dash cam. Tornado. Uh-oh, here we go. China had terrible accident because of lithium-ion battery. Jeez. I guess that was the roof of the motel. Man, that's no bueno. I only use Castile soap. I thought it was okay. Yeah. You would expect. There it goes. And bam. Jeez. Man, that's a lot. That's a lot of debris. Uncrustables. The problem made Uncrustables worth $1 billion. Secret to treating schizophrenia. Fontana Dam. Strobenzia? I don't know. Let's see, $35 billion. Alien world chemistry found in a meteorite. There we
Imagine just chilling at home, then hearing a big bang from your bedroom, and then you go in there and you find one of the most consequential scientific pieces of rock that have ever fallen from the heavens and made a mess inside of your house. That's what happened about 2 years ago at a New Jersey home. As you can see in that video there, that's not a UAP, that is a meteorite. And luckily for science, the homeowners immediately and carefully preserved some of the meteorites.
Grabbed it.
Fast forward.
Still have electricity though. Yeah, that's right. Yes, it could absolutely be worse. But yeah, no water. That's rough. But yeah, it's a good thing you at least have electricity. Yeah, you can watch. You can watch the live stream.
Their findings on the meteorite saying that it holds prebiotic molecules and other building blocks of life, and they are calling it alien world chemistry. Let's bring in the lead author of that study, Dr. Peter Yeniskins. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, so thank God it's Friday,
do we
brother.
know where, and more importantly, do we know when this meteorite might have come from?
Yeah, so the journey of a meteorite doesn't end when it hits the Earth. It's sort of the beginning. You get to look at it, you get to study it, and then you get to sort of figure out how it formed, where it came from. And this meteorite, had the whole story. The most cool thing about this rock was that it's a primitive type of meteorite. It looks very dark. When the rock hit the roof, it just shattered into pieces, literally exploded. It covered the whole room in black fragments and whatnot. We are very fortunate that the fragments were very nicely preserved.
They're gonna find out in a couple of years. Actually, it wasn't a meteorite that we were studying. It was actually roofing tile. What up, Walrus? Bottled water, folks. Save it whether you need it. Right? Absolutely. Maybe they'll say his name or where he's from. I don't. He kind of does sound German, Austrian-esque. Yeah. Yes. No. Absolutely. You absolutely want as much as if you've got room under a bed somewhere or something. Put as many gallon jugs under there as you can. What up, Day Tripper? Where I come from, sharing love without profit. It's called being a whore, and these working conditions are horrible.
When we finally got a chance to look at it, we found that it tells a story about the type of rocks that brought our water, our organic matter.
Every time I see a meteor, I think it's dirt scene.
This is the type of meteorite that formed just past the orbit of Jupiter. So here on the third rock by the sun, it was very dry. All this water and organics had to come from impacts many years ago. And it did mostly from rocks coming from just past Jupiter, like this one.
Jupiter.
And when we look at this rock,
all right, little native
we
mama.
found that resembled this sort of surface area.
Well, hopefully
of
you
those
ain't got to do that.
Objects. So it was
Find
not
some
just
water.
the
Have a
rock
good
itself,
night, little
it was
mama.
really very near the surface because we found little bits in it that contained 10 times the normal level of sodium.
Okay.
Salt. It's an indication of brine. So there was like New York City in the winter when you try to melt the snow, there was brine in the water. And that created a very interesting blend of chemistry.
It's a soup.
We also noticed that this rock was incredibly pulverized, all little bits and pieces stacked on top of each other. And the rock as a whole had this very interesting chemistry, sort of, what happens near the surface of an asteroid. So this was all just, a first sort of window we ever had in this part of this type of objects. And so, we're very excited.
I mean, when you sit back and you really think about it, I mean, is this the kind of thing that might have brought life to Earth in the first place? Like, are we looking at what could have been like our great-great-great-great-great-grandfather rock? Like, is this where
in a
we all
way.
came
So don't
from?
think of it... Yeah, exactly. Don't think of it as bringing, life itself, because the Earth was a perfectly fine place to have life started, much better than this rock. little world where this came from. Think of it as, all this water and this organics was being brought in. And that set the stage, if you like, for all those processes to start and make our evolution possible. So yeah, it's an amazing story.
Just right around the Cambrian explosion, right, brother? We need more meteors for the generations for rare materials.
Vast.
So listen, Walrus, we have only scratched the surface of this planet. We have no idea what's in the oceans. We have no idea. People will tell you they do, and they'll sell you a book they wrote on it that you won't be able to dive down to double check their data. But we got no idea. The Russians now think that they found that oil is ever created. They think that if they dig down a little bit further, or maybe they have, but the paper or the article was saying that it appears that at the temperatures under, like, very deep into the earth, like more than like a mile, there's where things get mixed up, and the pressure is creating from the things that the natural processes in the earth are creating hydrocarbons, like gases, like natural gas, methane, and then making oil. And then they think as they condense, it's the pressure pushes it up into these pockets that we normally drill into to get oil, that we've been doing for 100, 200 years. 200 years, yeah. So if here's the crust of the earth, or the surface of the earth, and then we usually dig down into the surface and found a pocket that we drain full of oil. Well, if underneath that is the generator that creates that, and then as it liquefies, it gets pushed up and fills these chasms. So we don't even know. We might have no problems with nothing. I mean, and it seems like that may be the answer. It's just, where are we spending our time looking? That rock's gonna start new plague. Right. He's gonna be like, we were sorry, I've got a slight cold. We were experimenting with the rock yesterday. Sorry. 3 days later, Dr. Fleming Schlater from the SETI Institute has come down with the new asteroid plague. Dun. We'll see. But usually these rocks are sterile. And this is also the thing about bringing life to Earth. Anything with life on it, a bacteria or anything that gets cooked through the atmosphere, is going to be absolutely sterile. It's not it's going to be turned basically into the carbon and or carbonized. Why is it easier for us to explore the moon than the ocean that's next to us? Listen, dude, we don't even really know what's going on at the poles. Like, even if you go look at Google Earth and everything, it doesn't really show you kick-ass imagery of the poles. So we don't even know what's underneath the ice. There was an interesting story of, there was a bunch of bullshit. They were saying that the glaciers were 100 million years old, and the water that's draining off this glacier, it hasn't been, it wasn't liquid for a million years or 100,000 years, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden they see something poke out, and it's a World War II fighter plane that was frozen down like 100 feet into this glacier. Well, how'd it get there? Or were they just wrong about everything? But we can't test their work and say, imagine 40 people go up to a glacier and just start like using their imagination and saying, imagine if this is it. And they're like, yeah, I agree. And then everybody agrees. So then you write a paper that's got 40 scientists' names on it from 5 or 6 different colleges and universities, and they publish it, and that becomes the truth, because we didn't go there and double check their work, And then apparently they would have been wrong, right? Because how did a plane from 1945 end up there where it should have been a million years old? Yep, fried germs, brother. What's up, Jim? What's up, Tracker? The ocean atmospheric pressure increases 33 feet. Every 33 feet is one atmosphere. That's correct. That's correct. You got. Do you have your certification, Tracker? Your scuba certification? Maybe we can find preserved dinosaurs stayed off the Arctic. We've got pieces of dinosaurs that still stink like rot. We've found dinosaurs with soft tissues. The only one I know, like the one that I know off the top of my head, is the 2004 Mary. I can't remember her last name. I think it starts with an R. But she found soft tissues, blood vessels, blood cells, the connective tissue and stuff. So how did that not get eaten by microbes and whatnot? How was there any soft tissue left? What up, the core? Yeah, okay, you got, okay, yeah. Yep, need to find, yeah, well, there's some people that think they did find Atlantis. You know? All right, let's see. What was I looking at? Okay, check this out. This T-Rex. T-Rex found 2004 soft tissue. Yeah, here you go. Schweitzer, Mary Schweitzer. Okay, paleontologist Mary Schweitzer and her team found flexible blood vessels, red blood cells, and bone matrix in a 68 to 70 million year old Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you put a steak outside, do you think it's going to last a year? How about 10? So how is it that they found these soft cells and they have any idea that it's 68 to 70 million years old? What's up, Sir Keith? Off the coast of Japan. Yeah, right. And how come we don't learn this in school? Because then kids will say, you're full of shit. And how do you know? You can't go back 68 million years ago, be like, yup, here's dinosaur just falling over dead. They were right. You can't ever replicate the time. Yeah, here you go. This groundbreaking find challenged long-held ideas about how organic material decays over geological time. But who cares? What about bugs? What about an animal, a deer, whatever, eating the dead meat? Or bacteria eating the dead meat? Like what happens to a human body? A human body shot, killed in the woods, they'll find just a skeleton stripped clean in a couple of months, a year, not 68 million years. Yeah, it's freaking crazy. And the more you realize, the more you keep in your mind that you should always think to yourself, I'm probably being lied to. It's just a good story. So somebody finds something and says, but it was always believed, oh no, we're never going to find soft tissues. So no one will be able to prove me wrong. So then they can say, no, yeah, this dinosaur is 75 billion years old. Prove me wrong, prove me wrong, prove me wrong. You can't, ha. If we take these findings in perspective, we probably confuse ourselves. Yeah. Check the meat in the freezer. Right. And where was it found? Let's see where it was found. Hell Creek, Montana. So not like in the Arctic Circle or anything where it would have been frozen, you know. When the femur broke during transport, they found the matrix weak acid lamb revealing stretchy, transparent blood vessels and fibrous collagen. Usually, when you find dinosaur bones, they're not actually the bones. The bones have been mineralized and turned into rock, basically. But this bone still had marrow in it. I don't believe black holes do not expel energy. I don't believe black holes do not expel energy. I think they definitely do. I think they definitely do. What up, Roscoe? Maybe it's not. That's right. That's right. That's what I think too. And there's a bunch of very interesting stuff I was just talking about earlier before you guys came in, where the Russians think they found oil production. So they think if they dig deeper, like you dig down into the earth and you find a big old bubble of oil, hundreds of thousands, millions of barrels of oil, right? And then you drain it over the years. Well, they're saying if you keep digging, that there's actually production where the heat and the pressure creates methane, natural gas, and liquefies it. And then as it cools, it goes farther up and then refills that bubble that we just drained 100 years, over the past 100 years or whatever. So who knows? How would we ever know that? What's up, Roscoe, brother? Dun, 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 dun. The fossil was broken down by weak acid. Preservation was down. The fossil was broken down by a weak acid. The preservation was down to iron. Okay, all right. But this ain't the only one. This ain't the only one. To be sure, there are also ones that have been found that still have the smell of rot. But why is the bone still bone? Why hasn't it been mineralized? Why has it not been fossilized? I believe whenever they give us access to a certain technology, it's surely outdated and useless at a higher level, and they have something way more advanced than that. So that's the truth. That's the truth. Technology that's used in the military, DARPA type stuff, the stuff that like cell phone technology was used during Vietnam War, and it wasn't released. That technology wasn't released to us till the 80s. So this was done in like the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, that they were using cell phone technology. Then that technology was allowed for release to the population in the 80s. And that's when like you had the first StarTACs and whatnot come out from Motorola brick. Let's see. Let's see. The Iron Act. I understand. I understand. I understand that. I understand that. But why was it over 70 million years? We're talking 70 million years. Why wouldn't any bacterial agents or any bugs in the ground have consumed that when they would have done it? How come we don't see that happen more with modern skeletons and whatnot? It's something that pissed me off in during COVID, and I did a deep dive, and that's why I remembered her name. Have you seen the weird Dollar Tree Gooner trend? No, I haven't. I don't know if I want to look into it. Yeah, what is that? Oh, great. What up, Term? I think Vietnam was the excuse for us to test new weapons in tech. They had no care in winning. I've heard that. I've heard that from other people. Like that, I've heard that conversation a lot. And like I heard the same thing about Venezuela also. Like they needed a reason to use some new technology. No, absolutely, David. 100%. Nature is a mystery. And it's very interesting. The more you study everything, most people study one subject, one like they're a chemist or a biologist or whatever. And when you try to learn all of these, you see that a lot of times these they don't agree with each other. And it's pretty interesting. And it's like, so you would wonder, why do we only have, or why are our major what do you call those freaking things? Like Nature, the magazine for the publications. What is it called? What do you call it? Journals. Why do these journals? Why I could kind of understand, but why isn't there a journal that says, okay, here's the biology, here's what they say happened here to here to here, so the chemists can then say, well, that can or can't happen, and that's when things start to really get broken down. Maybe the same thing happened now with Iran. So I listen, the more I find out, like, especially what was released today about Iran, it looks like Iran was a play for China. If you follow China's stock market, most people don't. they're not doing very well at all. They usually buy 80 to 90% of Iran's oil. So them not being able to get that oil for this past couple of months has really damaged a lot of their industry. Plastic is a petrochemical. They need that oil and the chemicals made from crude oil processing, particularly like sulfuric acid and sulfur compounds. And they didn't have that. So now Xi Jinping is coming, I think, next month to try to make deals in the United States. And ultimately, I don't know, just me playing things over in my head. I think that was in order to, the information that was gathered from Venezuela led to putting pressure on China that didn't work, that led to the Iran war that did put the pressure on China. Everything has a start point and a crossover point. Yeah. See, I mean, you would imagine that. Yeah. I would have to agree. When could you see what you can see how they interact? What you can see what soldiers in Vietnam that had the red vision vials were seeing things that weren't described. They were described as demons or some entity. They stopped using. They switched to the green. That's true. Yeah, that's the true story. They thought they were seeing demons because of the things that were in the red light spectrum that they were using. They were using back then. They were using it was light amplification technology, but they had to take photons, convert them to electrons, amplify the electrons, then had the electrons hit phosphorus to convert them back to photons so that the human eye could see them. And when they were doing that at the red level, they were seeing things that weren't there. Things that they couldn't detect. They couldn't detect there. Yeah, that's pretty crazy stuff. All right, let's see. And it's also like the more you look into like let's say let's see if I can find this. Okay, so here's something interesting too. So in a lab, we can make fossils that resemble the fossils we find that we say are millions of years old. We can make them in 24 hours. We can use bones and tissues and put them under pressure and surround them in a bath of pressurized minerals and make fossils in one day, right? So it's like, so we guess on fossil ages by the age of the rock next to or on the same strata or the same layer that the fossils were found. Scientists can create lab-made fossils in 24 hours by packing organic samples like feathers or skin into clay, baking them under high heat, extreme pressure. The process mimics millions of years of underground burial. So how long have they been making fake lab-made fossils? And knowing like about Piltdown Man and Lucy and other things are not necessarily Lucy. What was the other one? The frozen one? Like that were found out to be hoaxes, like you, especially if there's no. Could we do that with diamonds or the fraction? Yes, we can make diamonds. Right. But if you could, here's the thing, David. Here's the thing about diamonds. If you had a buddy that worked at GIS, right? And he was like worked with people that worked at the GIS for 10 years. They were all buddies. They went to drink. They did blow together. Did all this. And you said, let's get rich. So we're going to get a bunch of lab-made diamonds. The people that grade them will grade them as real, boosts the value of it. It's humans, and humans are fallible and easily like deception is a thing, right? So you go and you buy a diamond and you're never going to take that to be recertified. The only thing you would do to recertify it these days is they would look at the laser inscription on it, check that with the data at the GIS, and then tell you, yup, that's a natural diamond. But they're not going to take it and chemically analyze it again. So once they get that laser inscription with that whatever 32-bit number or whatever they use these days, that's it. As soon as the GIS. So if you can convince people there to just, hey, run these $1 million worth of rocks through with the next one and just say they're all real, put the laser encoding on them. You know, absolutely. The ones that are typically made in labs are typically made for industrial diamonds. So like diamond cutoff wheels and stuff like that. Considering it takes 1.3 of a billion years to diamonds, but I hear you. Right. No, I gotcha. I gotcha. Right. But also we found carbon-14 in diamonds. And when the answer why that is, and we find carbon-14 in coal. Carbon-14 goes to zero at about 60 to 80,000 years. So you would expect to find zero carbon-14 in things 1/3 of a billion years old, like diamonds and coal. You know, like 10 million year old freaking, or 80 million year old dead coal. You know, but you do. They find it. They say, oh, it's contamination. From what? What was around it? Okay. And what are we gonna do? When De Beers digs a pure diamond out of the ground, their minds actually inscribe the number. They use their freaking 1 to 3 billion. There you go. That sounds probably good. Right, but check this out. Look, so carbon-14. I'm part of the single party movement of America. Good idea. Detecting trace amounts of carbon-14 ancient diamonds is a real measurement result showing a pattern of low background levels of modern carbon. Mainstream scientists attributed baseline limits, sample preparation, contamination. So they're saying when we prepare the sample, we contaminate it with carbon-14. Well, then what samples do you not contaminate with carbon-14? So everything starts to go to shit. And then the like argon for like rock dating, they don't know how much argon was in the rock 100 million years ago. So they have to use an assumption. So when you get them tested, they say, assuming there was zero when the rock was liquid, it would be 100 million years old. But then we had a problem. Mount St. Helens eruption rocks were tested that should have tested at 50 or 40 years old, and they tested at 150,000 years old. So that rock, when molten, should have reset to zero, and it didn't. So we don't really know. After they did those experimental in Mount St. Helens, they had to expand the thing. Instead of it being like a million years, it had to be like 10 million year gaps. So it completely screwed up everything. Right, and in a vacuum. Yeah. Yeah, and it even says here, they say internal low-level nuclear reactions. Don't worry, not a young Earth. Okay, cool. But they got no idea. They got no idea because we don't have any guaranteed high confidence 5 sigma evidence and data from 100 million years ago. You know, we don't have a letter dated negative 100 million years, you know, that we could say, oh, that's 100 million years old. Here you go. So there's typically no detectable carbon-14 after 50 to 60,000 years. So why there's carbon-14 in coal and diamonds? They say, oh, well, apparently it's because it got contaminated, but they can't prove anything, you know? So it's interesting. You get to tell stories and whatnot. Scientists had to set the benchmark. Laughable. Yeah, right. Well, they're doing that again now. The age of the universe. Now that we've seen fully formed galaxies very far out with the new not Kepler. What's the new telescope? Professor Brian Cox is 99% of science's theory, and he's right. He's right. Like Big Bang theory. It's a theory because we don't know. It looks like we know. So people found some evidence and then they used their imagination. And the people that were using their imagination were called scientists. And they said, with this available data, it looks like that we started from one Big Bang. You know, but they don't know because you can't rewind time. You can reverse extrapolate what we currently see, but yeah, we don't know. But if you want to sell knowledge, you have to make the person purchasing that knowledge believe that it's true. So you create a curriculum and you create a test. And that test is your value. It says, here's the education we're giving you. And so you know that it was worth something. We're going to test you on that. And by testing you on that, and you remember that shows, hey, okay, you learned what we taught you. But the truth doesn't have anything to do with it. I think my ex smoked carbon-19 mixed with James Webb. That's what it was. James Webb went up. I don't watch everything that's going to change. Yeah, right. So the James Webb. What up, AZ? So the James Webb found, like, I think it was supposedly like 13 billion year old light that was fully formed galaxies. And the theory that we were currently working on was that the universe was 13.8 billion years old. So theoretically, there should have been no time for galaxies to fully form. So now they're trying to do recalculations. So when we went to school, if they asked us how old the universe was, we had to put 13.8 billion years, and they would mark true, correct. And in a couple of years, kids are going to hear 26.8 or whatever their new estimate is. 32.6, whatever the new estimate is, right? And it's just whatever they tell us, because you can't test them. You can't check their work. I mean, you can't replicate the age. As sensors get better, more it is. So it's a theory. With current sensor technology, this is what it appears to be. So it's based on assumptions. That's what theories are. They have some assumptions. And then, like, things that you actually have in your hand, like chemistry and whatnot, you can replicate chemistry experiments and then say, yes, this science is firm. What I said in this paper is true. This got mixed with this got mixed with that, and created this. You can do it yourself and repeat my data, repeat my science. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Boom. There we go. Transparent metal. Oh, cool. Let's look at that.
Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you transparent metal. I've done a lot of experiments with sodium in the past, but we've usually focused on it exploding when you put it in water. But today I want to show you what happens when it doesn't explode.
Voyager has
it
taken
actually
49
turns
years to
completely
travel 1 light
transparent.
year.
Watch this.
So it was going 1/49th the speed of light?
Okay, here's our chunk of sodium. I'm just going to drop it on this filter paper in water. 3, 2, 1.
No. It can't be. So that means when it says, hey, here's where I'm at, it would take 1 year for us to get that signal at the speed of light. Hold on, let's see. If they said that, there's no way. They're lying. How far is Voyager 1 from us?
Voyager 1 is currently about 15.9 billion miles, or 25.6 billion kilometers, away from Earth. A radio signal takes almost 23 hours and 44 minutes to travel between them.
1 light day. 1 light day. 1 light day from us. Yeah, 1 light day, not 1 light year. 1 light day. Yeah, 1 light day. Yeah, not 1 light year. Yeah, so it says it takes 23 hours and 44 minutes for travel one way. So that's 1 light day. Yeah. I was about to say, if they said that, that's crazy. 16.6 million miles per hour. Oh.
Whoa. Whoa. It's completely clear now.
No way.
Look at that. Whoa. So we actually end up with a crystal clear drop here that suddenly explodes at the end. So why are metals normally opaque anyways?
13.6.
Well, it has to do with the same reason why metals are good conductors. It's because they have free electrons. The valence electrons in atoms are free to move through the entire piece of the metal. They're not bound to the atoms.
Yes,
this means that they move around in a piece of metal just like particles of a gas. So you can treat these electrons like an electron plasma. And there's actually a relatively simple formula for calculating the plasma resonance.
I wonder if it lenses. Like, I wonder if it refracts light. Or, yeah. Like a glass or water droplet does. It would have been interesting if there was a black grid on the bottom of that white substrate that he had the sodium on,
frequency
or whatever
for free electrons. This formula tells us that for low photon energies like radio waves and microwaves, for example, the free electron plasma is almost a perfect reflector. But for mid-range energies like visible light, this is right close to the plasma resonant frequency, so it absorbs the light. But then for higher energies than visible light, the electron plasma becomes transparent. Now for real metals, this isn't exactly true because the electrons can jump into different orbitals and change the plasma resonance frequency slightly.
Space terms,
this makes it so that you can have colored metals like gold that absorb blue and green light.
We'll figure it out, brother.
Reflect yellow light. But in general, all the metals act nearly the same in terms of light absorption because they all have similar electron plasmas. So you never see any transparent metals in the visible range. But what about what
I've never even heard of it.
I've
never even heard of transparent metals.
Sodium turn transparent? Well, let's look at the reaction in more detail.
Yeah.
When you put sodium in water, the sodium has such a weakly bound outer electron that the electron will attach to the free protons in the water to create hydrogen gas.
Oh, so that was a coffee filter and water.
This leaves you with sodium hydroxide salt, which is transparent. And since the sodium hydroxide is so hot, it's actually in its molten state. So you end up with a molten drop of this alkali metal hydroxide. So the reason for the filter paper on top here was just to slow the sodium.
I thought that white was like calcium. Well, I guess it couldn't be. Oh, yeah, it could be calcium, I guess. But yeah, okay. We all stand in a buffalo stance. Buffalo soldier. Who would have thought you could have a TV screen that rolls up? Right. Who would have thought?
Reaction down with the water, so it doesn't all happen at once. So the ions are able to transport across the filter paper and react with the sodium. So overall, you're left with a molten ball of sodium hydroxide.
That's so crazy.
It's completely clear.
I guess once the Leidenfrost effect.
Now, one thing to be aware of in this reaction is normally sodium metal is lighter than water, so it floats on top.
Yeah.
But in this case, even if you put the filter paper on top, once the transfer is complete and it's completely sodium hydroxide, it can melt down through that paper. So it burns down through the paper and drops down below into the water below it. So the Coulomb explosion that happens once it's down in the water is a lot bigger. So this is how it happened when I tried it with a glass beaker first. The drop just fell down into the water and exploded my beaker. Oh. Whoa.
Bleach.
So the reason that it becomes transparent is because it actually isn't a true metal anymore. It's a metal hydroxide.
How would he stabilize it? It's a good question. Well, I guess to keep it clear, that would be tough. Because, I mean, freezing it, like maybe blasting it with like liquid nitrogen or something, as long as you don't nitrate. Now, would you? No, I guess you wouldn't. Yeah, just freezing it, I guess, but then you'd have like a little snowball, I'm guessing here. It's a good question. Good question.
Even these other...
maybe magnets. Maybe magnetic levitation. You ever seen where they float the frog in a magnet? He's just sitting there because like the water molecules are paramagnetic. But that's because water molecules are paramagnetic. But are sodium paramagnetic? Probably not. Living without substance is a blessing. What's up, Marcel?
Metals that you might have heard of in the news, like transparent aluminum, isn't actually a true metal either. It's actually aluminum oxide. Okay, so it seems we're out of luck if we want to see a true transparent metal. But maybe not. In the visible range, the electron plasma has a large extinction coefficient, which means it absorbs light strongly. But when something absorbs light, it doesn't just instantly absorb all the light that hits it. The amount of light that penetrates into the metal actually decays exponentially. This means that for very, very thin pieces of metal, there can be significant amounts of light that gets through. But it has to be really thin. So I have here a piece of aluminum that's only about 100 nanometers thick. The reason I'm able to hold it so easily is because it's attached to a piece of plastic. The way it was made is by vacuum deposition, where the metal evaporates and then condenses onto the plastic. So you can see a really good reflection here because in this range, most visible light is reflected, but some is also absorbed. That's why the reflection looks gray, because the reflected light coming off is dimmer than the light that hits it.
Right.
But also, since the metal is so thin on here, some of the light is actually transmitted as well. So there's some light getting through. But let's see what happens when I shine my green laser from the back here.
Turn the lights off. Wow.
You can totally see through it. So this really is a transparent metal. So when you have metals in the range of nanometers, then the metal's no longer completely opaque.
Living Without Substance was my favorite Bon Jovi song
So
in the 80s.
it looks like this is being 100% reflective, but it's not actually. Some of the light is actually getting through. It's so weird to see the laser go through with this shiny metal here. And thanks for watching another episode of the Action Lab. With the Christmas season coming up,
that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. I have to say, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. All right, let me see here. Let's see. I got to change that too. All right. Bill Gates' daughter. The chemistry of water treatment plants. Uh-oh. Shoot. Al Sharpton lawsuit. Uh-oh. Microscopes can see a video on a laser desk. Live TV disaster got Mike Rowe fired. Blood types are weirder than you think. Interesting. Further proof that Jesus is Lord Almighty. That's right, brother. LEDs can see you. Yes, they can do that too. Lithium recycling. Lithium battery recycling. India's fast breeder reactor went critical. This year?
On the 6th of April, 2026, at 8:25.
Right. So how do you corral corruption? How do you corral corruption when often the people not willing to be corrupt are also the least likely to want power? And she just might have Bill from Dawsonville.
In the evening, a reactor on the Tamil Nadu coast started a chain reaction that India has been chasing for 22 years. Inside a heavily shielded control room at the Kolpakam nuclear complex, operators withdrew control rods and brought India's fast breeder reactor prototype, the PFBR, to its criticality. 500 megawatts electrical, cooled by 1,750 tons of liquid sodium.
Cooled with liquid
fueled
sodium.
with plutonium recovered from the spent fuel of India's older reactors. And designed to do something almost no reactor on Earth does. It makes more fuel than it burns. This was a milestone 16 years in the making. Construction on the 500 megawatt electrical reactor began in 2004 with an ambitious target completion date of 2010. Civil engineering bottlenecks, complex regulatory approvals, and the sheer challenge of mastering liquid sodium technology pushed full commissioning to 2026.
Force honest people to become politicians. So I had an idea when I was in my 20s of creating a political system that used the population. So high school graduates like would be put in a pool. And it could be something different. It could be college graduates, but I'd say high school graduates, like jury duty. So you have a certain number of jurors that run posts for, say, 2 months. And they're limited by what they can do with a group of other jurors that represent kind of like the Senate, but people that get replaced very quickly. Part of the education in schools would absolutely be civics. So you would be teaching kids through whatever 6th through 12th grade about that, because that most likely at some point some of these kids are going to be in these positions, but they won't know. It'll have to be a random pooling like jury duty is, because jury duty, we want to be fair, and you don't want to know who's going to be next, because if a couple of friends all get in power, then they would be able to say, hey, we can start working something out. But if it was randomized, pick through, when things are voted on, it would be voted on by random pools of the population, and you would get paid very well. And it would be the law of the land, just like jury duty is, that you can't be fired from your job. You get that 2 months off or whatever, and you have a constant turnover. And so then you start teaching everybody how everybody should be treated, rather than trying to change the mind of a politician that's been in office for 40 years. And then so you would get some black people, some white people, some brown people, some Asian people, whatever. You would get it, and it would constantly change and turn over. And then you could keep setting things up that you wouldn't necessarily vote on. You would set it up for people in the next couple of votes, and then so that could be talked about and brewed over. But I think that would be the best way to do it. Money isn't the root of all evil. It's just who spends it selfishly. Yeah, what up, Enviro Pro? The legend is live. Carpe diem. What's up, David? Interesting. The anode in the water heaters produces a flammable gas. In some cases, produces a flare coming from a faucet. If a flare is coming from your faucet, it may. So you have a sacrificial anode in heating in tanked water heaters, which is usually zinc, to keep the water tank from rusting. But you have heating elements which are electrically insulated from the water, so you shouldn't get any hydrogen breaking. If you've got flammable gas in your water supply, that's probably seeping from ground gas or a gas leak in the municipal system that's putting natural gas into your water supply. That system you described sounds easily hackable. I mean, so I think it would be easily hackable if people had long periods of time and it wasn't random. Like, you wouldn't know, hey, in 3 years is your turn. You would know, hey, turn up next month on the 1st of June for your 2 months. And then, okay, go tell your boss, whatever. I don't see how that would be easily hackable, considering the things that you might want to bring, you don't vote on. Because by the time you put something up getting ready for a vote, your time would be over and somebody else's time would be in. I don't know. I think it would be cool if we even tried. At least people always go back to communism and socialism that don't work. So why don't we have kids in colleges doing experimental new types of governments and start working on them rather than always going back to Marx? Jamaican Rastas? Yeah, I hung out with them a lot.
To understand why this machine is so revolutionary, first we need to understand what criticality actually
why
means
POTUS getting closer with North Korea. And we fought a lengthy war against them alongside South Korea. South Koreans are our allies. And POTUS doesn't understand that. Vote Democrat in November. Definitely not voting to open the border up. He'll be gone. He'll be gone in 2 years. Definitely not voting to open the border up, brother. Sorry. But in computer talk, random numbers don't exist. There's always an algorithm to create where this rev can be put from a weak point. Right? I understand that. But you would have a seed, multiple seeds. There would be a set memorandum of rules every. You would, right. We would have a constitution. Still, the Constitution, that would be the general. Not everybody could say, hey, everybody gets $1 billion. Bam. Like not that. Like you still have the rules, and then you still have to have a bunch of people, like all of the jurors from your city have to get a 51% vote to make it so. So you can't just get what you want for 2 months. But it seems like as that goes on, you would get a sampling of everybody. The poorest and the richest all would get their time through.
In any nuclear reactor, split atoms release neutrons. Criticality is not an explosion. It's the exact balance point where the neutron population remains completely steady.
Mr. Bundre, that's also history. You don't think people have matured over the years? I mean, like we don't have slaves and stuff anymore. Like, right? So maybe it's time for them. Maybe it's time for North Korea to come out of the dark ages. Maybe Kim Jong-un isn't his father. Maybe he wants to open up trade. We don't know. You can't keep going back to history always. You have to have an open mind about things and start things slowly. I think it would be good for the world if everybody got along. More important, we need to revert when Congress was voluntary instead of paid, remove money from the equation. So what I'm saying is it would be a paid position, but the same pay. Like you get $5,000 to work your 2 months, and then you get out, and then you're done. Right? Like so instead of saying, oh, if I can get elected for 40 years and learn how to game the system from inside. In school, I was very smart picking my girlfriend each year, but as an adult, women find to be dragons. Yeah, so don't date. Wait till you find somebody you want to marry. Even medication is poison if it's paid for. Yeah, I agree. Happy Friday, TW. Yeah, so you would have a pay for that for these people. It would be very easy to budget. And it would be very easy to set through. And just like if someone gets sick or whatever, just like jury duty, there's alternates and whatnot. I'm sure if we put a year into setting up the constitutionality of everything, setting all of this up, setting up the guardrails and whatnot, I think it could be something that works. People in poverty are easily corruptible. How would you avoid that? Because they wouldn't be in power long enough. They could get into power and then say, okay, I want to pass a bill that says I get $1 billion, but that could be voted on in 6 months. And then the other people in the town wouldn't also vote on that. So it would be poor people next to rich people voting on the things that came a few months before them. You understand what I'm saying? So you get to start putting things in it. Listen, I haven't perfected the system. I haven't even thought about it in 20 years. So, it's interesting to see that the thing we want most fair in this nation is criminal court. That's why we have jury duty the way it is. Why wouldn't we want the people that rule us to also be the most fair? And if jury duty is the way we found the most fairness, sounds every few months old laws would be voted down. So the way the system would be set up is if someone came in and said, okay, my name's Richard. Today's my first day. I want to set something to vote down taxes. It doesn't happen that month. It would happen after I leave office, and then people would have to vote on that as a group. And it's not always the same people that you were in office with. So if you were trying to enrich yourself, you would already be gone by the time someone else takes that place. So and it wouldn't just, like I said, it would be a 51% vote. It would be Democratic like that. So your group of jurors would all be against each other. So you wouldn't just have one governor of a state that wants to enrich himself to do this. You would have a bunch of people from that state that rotate through that would get to vote on it when it's their term. And there could be I'm saying I think it could be thought through. The woman I know is going to be a lawyer and she doesn't drink beer. Not a good side. Well, maybe that's why she wants to be a lawyer. She's got enough energy and not hungover at all.
In physics terms, it's when the effective neutron multiplication factor, or K, equals exactly 1. At K1, every fission event triggers precisely one more subsequent fission event.
So imagine people get into power and those are the people doing the voting, on things. And so people could absolutely vote it down. But if 51% voted it in, so every state had 51 representatives, and maybe 2 months is too short. I don't know. We'd have to work it through. We haven't done, just only was in my brain for a couple of weeks when I was in my 20s. Nah, you want to be a beer drinker? Are you replacing Congress one for one? No, less people. I would want like 101 people per state, let's say, or 51, whatever, something like that. Something so we could have a 51%. So 101 people, or 51 people. So at least you could have 26 over 25 or 51 over 50. Right? Like that. And then you would get a general consensus overall. So say 100 people per state. Just say 101 people per state. Okay, 51 people. I'd have to do the math. Okay, 51 people per state. That's what we could do. And the thing is, they just get paid monthly, right? They get paid one check for that, which would get rid of all huge amounts of the self-enriching bullshit. So the government would have more money to pay the people that are doing those jobs for short spurts. How did they bring the reactor to critical mass without taking it off and running away? I guess we'll find out. I agree, brother. I agree. Absolutely. Listen, when a scientist says that if they say that they're atheists, they're Satanists, because a scientist should know that you cannot prove there is or isn't a God. So a scientist should be, if they are anything other than godly, should be agnostic, saying, I just haven't found the evidence yet. So, but the willingness for them to say there is no God, I'm an atheist, that basically means that they've already come to a conclusion off of not enough evidence. We currently have 2 per state in the Senate and over have 7 in the House. You want not more than 9 people voting per state. I don't know. I'd have to sit down and do the numbers. But we have a lot more than that. I'm talking about combining federal and state. So also the House of Representatives and the representatives in each state, we wouldn't really need the Senate or the House of Representatives. Because you also have representatives in each state. So you could have much less people in the system overall. Now you would still need people to run things like the Department of Transportation and stuff like that. But the people that make the rules for them is what I'm saying. All coming down to money. As long as we use it, they'll have a grip on us. Yep, it's either beat them or join them. Most people's options.
The chain reaction.
Combining federal and states very dangerous. Larger states without runaway accelerate. Not if they all had equal amounts of people. Yeah, I'd have to work it out. I mean, if you want to do that, we can work it out right now. We can try to figure it out. But for lawmaking, so federal and state. So if we could combine federal and state, federal and state, yes, combine federal and state, and still have local representatives that would enforce and gather the stuff that these jurors did the voting on. So basically, like the judicial system. So you could still have the judges and whatnot. Maybe consider them. I think it could ultimately work because what we don't want is we don't want $100 billion going to a train to nowhere. We don't want people opening the border that have set up business practices and stuff with people in order to just say, you know, it's going to be great for our businesses and it'll destroy everybody else. Back in the old days, people were allowed to farm for free if they submitted a percentage of the crops. Now you have to buy a license. What went wrong? What went wrong was in the 20s or 40s, 20s, I think it was. Seeds became private intellectual property. And when that happened, it used to be that the government would go around and they would have fairs. Do you remember state fairs? State fairs, people would grow the biggest tomatoes, the best, and the government would collect the seeds and have a huge seed library that farmers could get for free. And that's how we started to get like the best like heirloom crops and stuff. And then industry came in and said, we'll set up labs and determine what are the best seeds, and then we'll sell them to people because we need to make our money back for research and development. Yeah. The idea sounds good. There's a lot of potential fires that we need to put out before implementation. Oh, I agree. I think, I would like to set up a curriculum for schools to use. Once they get this socialism, communism stuff out of the schools, there needs to be, because everybody calling themselves a progressive today is a regressive. They want to go back to old things that don't work because they know what the future will be, and they know how they can benefit off of it. So if we can start getting into schools ways to do like student government, but have like debate club type things and have a different set of governance for that and be an actual progressive party, not just what it's been turned into.
Criticality marks the beginning of commissioning. The chain reaction is sustaining itself, but the reactor is still far from producing electricity. Virtually all commercial reactors operating globally today are thermal reactors. They use light or heavy water as a moderator to slow down fast-moving neutrons released during fission. Slow neutrons split uranium-235 easily, but natural uranium contains less than 1% uranium-235. The remaining 99.3% is uranium-238, an isotope that cannot sustain a thermal chain reaction.
Education is the foundation.
In a standard water reactor, uranium-238 is mostly wasted as spent fuel. The breeder reactor, however, needs the opposite. It needs neutrons to stay fast because fast neutrons are what convert useless uranium-238 into usable plutonium-239. The PFBR is a fast neutron reactor, so cooling a high-density fast reactor core requires extreme engineering. Water cannot be used because hydrogen atoms slow down neutrons, ruining the fast spectrum. Right. Instead, PFBR relies on molten liquid sodium. Liquid sodium
science
is
has
an exceptional heat transfer medium.
Right, and science should be. Listen, when you start learning about paper mills, the people making fake publications, fake papers for failed scientists to publish things, apparently they're up to the AI now checking back from like 1994, 16% of papers done on cancer were from paper mills, and they don't have sound science, and they were published. So how much farther along could we have been? So it seems like people that started to understand how to heal the body understood that it's more profitable to not heal the body, just started using a lot of this money to dilute the information, dilute the science. What groups of people would you disqualify from lawmaking? Felons, immigrants, Ohioans, all three. Yeah, no, you've got to be an American citizen, absolutely, because you don't care. You don't. It's the people that are here that just want to make money and leave. They don't care what the end of the experiment is. They just want they want to make a bunch of money and go back somewhere that they can live off of $5 a day, but have $100,000 in the bank. If you're looking into good troll, go to Reddit, look at Barker Boss to stream it, tell him he's a pedophile. He talks to teenage girls. Jeez. Yeah, he shouldn't be doing that. Jesus.
It melts at 98 degrees Celsius and does not boil until nearly 883 degrees Celsius. This allows the primary cooling system to operate at high temperatures near 550 degrees Celsius while remaining at virtually atmospheric pressure. Unlike light water reactors that require massive pressure vessels operating at 150 times atmospheric pressure to keep water liquid, a sodium-cooled pool reactor operates without high pressure, drastically reducing the risk of a catastrophic loss of coolant pipe burst. However, there is a trade-off. Sodium burns on contact with air and reacts violently with water. Japan's Monju reactor lost years to a sodium leak and fire in 1995. Indira Gandhi's Center for Atomic Research, or IGCAR, designed around this, solving it with a 3-circuit pool design. The primary sodium circuit stays submerged inside a giant stainless steel pool, containing the main vessel, primary pumps, and intermediate heat exchangers. Heat is transferred from the primary sodium to an intermediate, non-radioactive sodium loop, which then transfers heat to a steam generator to drive conventional steam turbines. The sodium touching the core becomes radioactive, so it never goes near the turbine. It hands heat to a second clean sodium circuit, which boils the water. If water leaks into the second loop, the resulting sodium-water reaction can damage the steam generator, but it is designed to remain separated from the radioactive primary circuit.
Hey, brother, listen. I think that might be a good idea also. That might be a good idea also. And people vote as families rather than just like individual people. And especially with finding out how easily kids are influenced. You are the new brother. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, Marcel. I try my best, brother. I try my best.
It enters the core at 397 degrees Celsius and leaves at 547. And that high outlet temperature gives the plant around 40% thermal efficiency. Underneath sits a core catcher, built to hold the debris if fuel assemblies ever melt. The PFBR burns mixed oxide fuel in its core, and wrapped around that core is a blanket of uranium-238. The fast neutrons streaming out get absorbed by the blanket, and uranium-238 becomes plutonium-239, which itself is fuel. Over a full cycle, the reactor ends up with more fissile material than it started with. The breeder ratio here is modest, roughly 1.03 to 1.05. But it is above 1, and that's the whole point. The fuel going
so
in
it makes
is already
more fuel than it
from
uses.
India's heavy water reactors. The fuel coming out gets reprocessed and sent back in. That closed loop is what stage 2 actually means. Why has India spent decades mastering this punishing engineering? India has roughly 70,000 tons of uranium and around 1.04 million tons of thorium, one of the largest reserves on the planet. The problem is that thorium is not fissile. It has to be converted to uranium-233 first, and that takes a strong source of spare neutrons. So in the 1950s, one of India's most prominent scientists, Dr. Homi Bhabha, mapped out a 3-stage nuclear power program tailored specifically to India's mineral reserves.
In 1954.
Stage 1,
and
heavy
now
water
they're
reactors burning natural uranium and producing plutonium.
We should be doing
Stage
it
2, fast breeders burning that plutonium while multiplying that stockpile. Stage 3, thorium reactors running on uranium-233, bred in Stage 2. Stage 2 begins on the 6th of April. So, once enough uranium-233 is bred, India can trigger Stage 3, deploying advanced heavy water or molten salt reactors powered directly by domestic thorium and uranium-233. Stage 3 represents centuries of complete energy self-sufficiency. The PFBR is the indispensable bridge between limited uranium imports and unlimited thorium power. Historically, several nations built experimental or prototype fast reactors, including the United States, France, the United Kingdom, Japan, and Germany. Most retired their programs under the commercial and engineering headwinds. Russia is the only country with a sustained commercial record running the BN600 since 1980 and the BN800 since 2016. China has its CFR 600 working towards grid connection.
Which is probably
so
off
once
the Russian
PFBR
plans.
enters full commercial operation,
you feel like you're learning something naughty.
Do
Do you think women are creatures that deserve to live in a fair? Do you think women are creatures that deserve to live in a faraway place near Antarctica, the top of glaciers surrounded by polar bears? No. What's absolutely happening is women have been taught, especially a lot in our high school and college system, to be anti-nature. And I think women often get angry at things that they wouldn't have regularly been angry with. I think a lot of times you have women that don't like men, like gay women or trans, whatever, that don't like men, that tell women that do like men not to like men and why they shouldn't like men and why the family is useless and why everything. So, and like bring up like historical, not necessarily statistical truths. And then when things happen biologically, like baby fever happens to a lot of women, and by the time they get to that point, they've already gotten into their heads that they in order to do what their friends told them or wanted them to do, like be an independent woman, don't need no man type stuff, they get angry, and then they also realize that they've been tricked later on in life. And so you have a whole lot of ladies that are following this path, and unfortunately these aren't the ladies that most people should agree with to join up with for marriage and relationships. We're separated from women by design. It's called feminist. Yeah, nowadays some women are choosing the polar bears. No, I got a hair tie in. I was I'm setting up to move my studio on the 27th, and I was boxing stuff and going through drawers and whatnot. I found a hair tie. By the way, Antarctica has a dwindling polar bear population. It's nearly zero. I want a tattoo of Bowser surfing with a double neck guitar, winking with his sunglasses lowered, and a weed leaf behind that. Do you think I should get it? Nope. You definitely shouldn't get that. Y'all sick. Nope. But what you should do is when you sober up, you should start a tattoo removal clinic. You'll be rich.
Commercial scale fast breeder reactor on the grid. India also has something most of those programs lacked, which is continuity. This reactor was sanctioned at $365 million. In April 2026, the Parliamentary Standing Committee put the figure at $857 million. Wow. The delay came from real engineering. Commissioning the sodium circuits, preheating a vessel that size.
I wish I could talk to women like I did in high school, but they don't take
is
me
only
seriously.
useful.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, dude. Listen. I'm gonna tell you what the best thing to do in life is to not worry about women at all until you're ready to get married. Do not date women that you're not interested in marrying. They do what's called anchoring. They slow you down through development in life, especially if you want to create wealth at any sort of level. You don't want to go out like nowadays, like dating apps are basically prostitution. They want you to spend $200 a date, first date type stuff, and it not turn into a marriage. So why would you invest the money in it? If you spend time, like I'm not dating at all for the next 2 years. So when I left the movie industry, I decided I'm going to take the next 3 years and build this channel. So I've been still working and stuff and working on the channel at night. But coming on, starting after next month, I'm going to start doing this way more full time. And still 2 more years. I don't even answer DMs. I don't do anything like that at all. And I'm waiting 2 years. If you set yourself up to say that you won't date till you're whatever, then you won't say that. Then it doesn't suck because you're not sitting around like, why don't the girls like me? What do I need to do? No, you're just like, no, I'm not going to date till I'm 25. I'm not going to date till I'm 35. I'm not going to date till whatever. Set that up. And then you'll just have a lot more stuff to do rather than thinking about how I can get a girlfriend. It clears up the mind. It makes it so much easier. You're not chasing sex all the time, not watching porn and stuff like that. And it just makes everything better. You're not wasting money on dates and girls that aren't going to turn into a relationship. R.I.P. Trevor. You attract the crazy ones. Yeah, that's what happens, especially. And these are the ones that you'll end up like, you'll wake up and you'll be like, wow, I spent $10,000 on this crazy girl over the past 6 months and now she's gone, or like she's ruined it. Like, yeah, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it financially. It's not worth it for mental health. It's not worth it for any of that. Wait till you get to a place where you're headed somewhere in life. You're on a path to a conclusion, something you want to build, the job you want to do, the life you want to live. And then you'll find people that are also, girls that are also on, or women that are also on that path, that say, then you could say, hey, maybe if we get together, we can put with our powers combined, we can get to this goal quicker and more efficiently. And that's what you're looking for, not just people to sleep with. And that's what it's been turned into, because dating apps has prostitutionized dating. I wish women would stop staring at me like a slab of meat. They only think about one thing, and it's disgusting. Barbecue sauce. What's up, Pablo? Yeah, I don't even bother with that anymore. I listen. I had plenty of fun as a youth, but it's just not worth. It's not worth. Like, I'm not chasing nothing down for a one-night stand. I'm not buying nobody no drinks. I ain't freaking going on no dates. I ain't doing nothing. No. I got plenty of time. I track about that Judy paying a rent, Walmart with mechanic wearing miniskirt. Yeah, stay away from people like that, Georgie. But if you're surrounded by lunatics who think you're the crazy one, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I just don't worry about it. Just find something to do. I don't know how old you are, but it took me until I was in my 40s to finally say, okay, I'm not, like, I always thought I'd be dead by like 25, 27, 31, 35. And now I'm in my 40s. I'm like, okay, apparently I'm not going to die as quickly as I thought I was going to. So now I need to worry about my future. And just dating and bullshit, I just don't care about it anymore. I've got things I want to do. I got things I want to build. Like, I could be laying with a girl right now, but I'm streaming. I'm building my catalog. I build thousands of hours of recorded media that I could go through and clip up for the next 10 years. I have 2-night stands. 2-night stands.
If you can reprocess what it produces. And the fast reactor fuel cycle facility that does that was meant to be ready in 2014. It is now expected in December 2029. What happens next is a slow climb. Low power physics experiments, stepped power increases with safety checks at each level, then grid connection. The April 2026 criticality at the Kalpakam is more than the end of a 16-year construction delay. It's physical proof that a complex, closed nuclear fuel cycle can be designed, built and mastered indigenously. By turning nuclear waste into fuel and stepping firmly onto stage 2, India has officially begun the countdown.
There's 2 types of people in the world, brother. There's 2 types of people in the world. There's builders and there's tearers down. Right. And the thing is, the people that will just draw your life force, your mental health, your money, and this is what dating has turned into. It's turned into like OnlyFans light. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy. The only way to meet people these days that are worth anything to you is to find people that already share things that you like or have a goal set for. So if you have a hobby, if you like golf or tennis or whatever, and while you're performing that hobby, you find a girl or woman that also, so there you already have something in common, not we're both on the same dating app. Yeah. Imagine if all these scientists work together on something truly important, like solving male pattern baldness. Right. Something important. All right, let's see. Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, we don't teach our young men about the truths of dating, the truths of what's going on. Scientists don't drink beer. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. They drink a lot of beer. A lot of them drink a lot of beer. We just measured nothing, and it's faster than light. Whatever. We just measured nothing, and it's faster than light. Great. Darkness is faster than light. I don't know what Evergrande is. Why is it on the shelf? Global encryption is dead. The end of the barcode. No way. Joe Biden was drugged for debates with Trump. That's so crazy. Do you remember back when Trump used to say that he wanted drug tests for Joe Biden? Jeez, dude. Why cats suck at controlling the rat population. New Alzheimer's study finds simple treatment that could restore energy. You could be a 140 IQ and still be a robot. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Listen, none of that matters. IQ will help you get places quicker and more efficiently if you don't have anchors, if you don't have addictions and like whether it's sex, drugs, alcohol, or whatever, you can learn things quicker, you can absorb information faster and whatnot. But if you want to chase butt cheeks all the time, it doesn't matter. You can be very smart and still be broke or doing, so it doesn't matter. The point is, life is pretty easy. You need a goal, and you need to not fear failure so much that you never start. So you got to be willing to fail and willing to learn from your failures, because you're going to have them. Everybody will. Everybody that tries will. And you have to have a goal. You have to have something you want to work towards. Have a short-term goal and a long-term goal, or multiple short-term goals and multiple long-term goals. But like working towards them puts things in your head rather than just sitting around and feeling alone. You think about how you can solve that problem, how you can get to that goal. IQ isn't worth much compared to the other attributes. That's right, little terabyte. Hey, we need scientists to make beer. Exactly. All right, let's see how giant nuclear flange is made from molten steel. Hydrobromic acid, cancer destroyer. Iran's new law. Iran passed a new law that it's forbidden to study abroad. What up, Raid? Such great advice. I try my best, brother. Smoother carbonation. Blesses these stands the fire of hell. $1 trillion problem. All right, hold on. Let's see. Artificial sun, thorium reactors, America's dance. Restart this. Let's see. Let's see what the internet's got to tell us. Okay. Bill Gates' daughter thing popped up again. Iran's president calls for end of war. Why math disproves materialism. Inside of a chip factory. You know what's weird too? You hear about these chip factories, these fabs that where they make silicon chips, and they're 1,000 times cleaner than an operating room. Why? Why aren't operating rooms as clean as chip fabs? Like, isn't it more important? Farting is still occurring? What you mean? Farting's going to occur. Still, it happens, brother. I tell you what. I tell you what's very interesting is, when I got my diet right and like my supplementation right, I used to fart 10 times an hour, probably right around there, every couple of minutes. Yeah, most hours. Yeah, now, dude, I can't even remember the last time I farted. Yeah, nobody's eating in an OR. Nobody's eating in a fab either. But yeah, why is a chip fab 1,000 times cleaner than an operating room? Okay, why isn't the operating room as clean as a chip fab? Like we got your cutting bodies open to do things to. Doesn't make any sense. Uber vegan. I ain't no vegan. Hell no. I eat a lot of meat. Plane crashes killing all 8. Liquid telescope. Robot athletes. Jeez. Why sending humans to Mars is impractical. Uh-oh. Hold on, what? Hormones when you don't pay them. 10 times an hour. I went vegan for a year. It was alright. Yeah, I can't do it, dude. Ain't no way. I know way too much about the human body now to ever even consider. And it's not just the human body. It's if you're not growing your own food, you do not know what you're getting from the grocery store. So I do not trust, if I want to make sure I get the certain amount of nutrients in proper levels, you do not know what you're getting from the grocery store. A lot of things are picked before they're ripe, so they can't develop their proper profiles. They're grown in wackadoo ways with land, soil that's stripped of other nutrients, so that they don't end up in the fruit and vegetable. Yeah, vegan farts are the gnarliest. Farting like you're a vegan, right?
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. The southern hemisphere.
Explain us. Did you know?
Hemisphere. Should be draining anti-clockwise direction.
Anti-clockwise.
Yet my name's Huntington Kalunji.
Kalunji?
Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you, Kalunji.
Nice meeting you, brother. So right now we are doing what we call geographical water experiment, caused by the Coriolis effect. After pouring, you have to stabilize it. Make the water come down.
Okay.
After calm down the water, we drop this flour on top to see whether it's going anti-clockwise.
Yeah.
So the farther you move from the equator, the faster it goes. The closer the equator, the slower. So let's go north and see what will happen.
Let's go and see.
They're just going to walk across the equator.
He's a
I heard
sorcerer.
that vegan seaweed is worth it. Jeez.
That's exactly on the
they
equator.
submerge Argentina.
The last.
Okay, so they're in Uganda. So he just walked across the Earth's equator.
Northern
down in Florida.
Yes.
Now that I'm down in Florida, I reconnect with an old friend. Yeah, an avocado tree, a handful of celery. I can
What changes?
There you
It's
go.
called
He doesn't like it.
Coriolis
Great.
effect.
Hey, that's good for you, brother.
Which is make the clockwise and anti-clockwise movement. And then they say your body weight on the latitude is less by 3%. You're lighter.
You're lighter on the northern hemisphere.
In 0 latitude. From which country?
Bulgaria.
Look at that.
Bulgaria.
Look at that.
Southeast Europe.
Wow.
Have you heard of Bulgaria?
Exactly. I get
How
some
does it
Bulgarian
look?
people to come and
If
get.
you're on the other side, this is what you show people that think that the Earth is flat. This is a evidence that the Earth is a spheroid. So it has an equator, and on one side of the equator, the flower will spin clockwise. The north side, the flower will spin clockwise. On the south side, it'll spin counterclockwise. So much better to store-bought crap spray with who knows, right? What up, Barbara? Da, 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 da. This is also how the weather patterns. That's right. That's correct. I'm doing good. Barbara. Thank you. Do you believe organic food is organic? This is the problem. I don't trust none of them people. Oops. I don't trust none of them people. I'm doing good. Thank you, Barbara. One of the goals is never to go back to the last girlfriend and share with you what everyone here is right. Yes, don't. If you do, you're dumb. I'll ban you. Happy Friday, Barbara.
What is that one for? So it's turning clockwise north. South anti-clockwise. 0, there's nothing. And you missed last month. You know, we have March 21st.
Yeah.
September 23rd. Those 2 dates, call them equinox. the equal day, equal night. That's when the sun rises and sets directly
on the equator.
Midday, you have no shadow when you stand at the zero altitude. Yeah. So let's do the last one in mid and see.
And they're only like 30 feet apart from each other. Now, as if I reputable farmer in proximity, I can get a quarter of a cow every so often. Yeah, like every year. That's what I do. He should do right on the equator. Yeah, I think that's what this is right here. Yeah, so here you go. This is on the equator, 0 latitude.
So why do you put water there?
To do
show the effect.
To show the effect how it works. North and south, okay. And it crosses only 13 countries.
Really?
7 countries in Africa.
Which countries are those?
Then first do the experiment, then I'll name 2 afterwards.
Look at
zero,
that.
now
Look
we
at
see what
that.
happens to the flower.
It doesn't spin at all. Bro, these guys are scamming so obvious.
You even get swallowed. So the countries,
It's free.
Africa said you have 7, but the total number of countries are 13.
Yeah.
We've got Uganda, Kenya, Somalia, Gabon, Congo DRC, Congo Brazzaville, Sao Tome. Then out of Africa goes to Indonesia, Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil, Kiribati Island, Grontal, and Brunei. And 3
My
oceans.
mom told me the difference between a vitamin and a hormone, and my dad never made a vitamin.
So that's what you do all day. South, north, south, north, south, north.
South, north, 0. Yeah, and then you get the certificate. If you want to buy a certificate, that one you charge 10,000 each. Like take to Bulgaria, like souvenir to say that you are here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the explanation.
Whenever I go in another country, I try to learn something from their language. And Uganda has a lot of languages. I think there are more than 30. Anyway, I learned 2 words in one of their languages, which are webale, which means thank you, and sebo, which means mister. So webale sebo. I had to pay my tribute to the guy that showed us this information.
Yes, brother.
Sebo. Webale.
Nice. Nice. What kind of scam? They sell at equator funnels now. Yeah, it doesn't cost anything. Like it looks like it's a restaurant. But yeah, it's the Coriolis effect. So they have 3 funnels, one at the equator, one at each side. The scam is how they pour the water in the container. No. Did you see it? No. They put a stabilizer in there. No, look, Ray, you missed it. You missed it. So they add water. And then they stop the water with a stabilizer. Look. No. This actually works, Raid. Watch.
My name's Huntington Kalunji.
Kalunji?
Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you, Kalunji.
Nice meeting you, brother. So right now we are doing what we call geographical water experiment.
All right, now watch.
Caused by the Coriolis
he adds
effect.
He adds the water, then he puts in a stabilizer.
The
Simpsons told us it's 25 to 0. See? So this right here would stop it from spinning. From like if they added the water in so it swooshed in a certain direction. So he's putting a stabilizing panel in there that would stop circulation of water.
Water come down.
Okay.
Now, if when he pulled it out, if he like twisted it when he was pulling it out, that I can see. Right, but he does the same thing. And I watched for it.
After come down the water, we drop this flower on top. To see what's going anti-clockwise.
Yeah.
So the farther you move from the equator, the faster it goes. The closer the equator, the slower.
There's going to be more. You can see more here. Coriolis effect. Nicholas, it rained earlier.
The Coriolis effect causes objects, wind, and water to take curved paths because the Earth spins, with the equator moving faster than the poles. In the northern hemisphere, things curve to the right, while in the southern hemisphere they curve to the left. This effect influences wind patterns.
Right. This is why you have the jet stream on the northern hemisphere and the wackadoo stream on the southern hemisphere. And then along the equator is where you'll have a lot of hurricanes and stuff where you have upsets and you have what's called water spout stuff. The Coriolis effect is way too weak to work with a little bowl of water. Nah, dude. Nah. No, it works. It works with water. Absolutely. So it's been told with about toilets flushing too. He's trying to sell his magic twirly flower. He didn't sell it. All right, let's see. Let's see what we can find here. All right, let's see. Let's see. All right, let's see if I can find the toilet one. The toilet one. The force of one edge of the bowl surface should be different than otherwise, but it's the right body. What's up, Super Obama? Look up Coriolis effect. Water go down the drain. I'm pretty sure it's a scam. All right, let's see. Let's see what Crutchland has to say.
Different direction than hurricanes in the southern hemisphere. In fact, in the southern hemisphere, they're not even called hurricanes, they're called cyclones. The scientific name for that is called the Coriolis effect. And this is where I throw you a little bit of a curveball. Because why the Coriolis effect definitely is an absolutely real effect. For it to really affect toilets, you would need a toilet that was like 3 miles wide. And I don't know about you, but I've never had.
All right, so this is where I heard about it, is the toilets, on the insides of the toilets, they have the little jets where the water comes out, and that's what makes the water in the toilet spin one way or the other. So that's why it's this way with toilets, but we'll go to sinks here.
3 mile wide.
Rigid body Coriolis effect works with free floating pendulums too.
It's just whatever way the little jets point in.
Right. Okay, so let me see if I can find this here. Actually, let me see. Okay, we're going to go outside. The guy's going to expose the scam. All right, let's see.
Okay, basically flushing the toilet on the equator.
And you're spinning?
Yeah, spinning just straight down.
Yes, straight down. There was not any spinning, any deflection. Brazil.
Okay, now we're in the southern hemisphere.
Oh, this clockwise, right? And so here in the southern phenomenon, like
so this is the same bucket.
Clockwise. And now let's see.
Now we're in the northern hemisphere. Counterclockwise.
It's counterclockwise, right? And so here in the north, phenomenon like tornadoes, hurricanes are spinning counter.
So now whether or not that one guy was doing a scam or not, I don't know. It happens in the bathtub also, right? Right. So the toilet thing is because the jet of the toilet, how the water flows from the top bowl into the bottom bowl is what causes the rotation in a toilet. But I guess like this also. Now, and they used the same basin. Oh, it was small, sorry. But they're using the same basin. They just carry it across the...
Okay, basically flushing the toilet on the equator.
And you're spinning?
Yeah, spinning just straight down.
Yes, straight down. There was not any spinning, any deflection.
Yeah, you got to be careful what you watch on the internet, too.
Okay, now we're in the southern hemisphere.
Oh, this clockwise, right? And so here in the southern phenomenon like the cyclones are spinning clockwise. And now let's see.
Rich, think about the Coriolis effect will be much exponentially weaker if you're just on the other side of the equator or not. If that's true,
it's right.
Right. Well, hey, no, listen. Absolutely. I question everything, right? Everything. Like I won't write this in my book until I actually do the experiment. But when we were doing in the Virgin Islands, we were doing installations of water tanks, and they were talking about like when filling and draining the water tanks, about how where to put the export, because you can get extra force depending on where it was. It would get stronger and stronger the farther you get from the poles. The problem with from the poles. Problem with the Golden Tub videos, they didn't stabilize the water. Right, yeah, they didn't stabilize the water, right. But it seemed like, right, what you gonna do? All right, let's see. Let's ask AI, see what it's got to say. All right. Yeah. Okay. It agrees with Raid. It says the Coriolis effect, water spreads in a sink, boil a bathtub, while tourist demonstrations at the equator claim to show draining in opposite directions. The effect is a trick. The Coriolis effect only impacts large bodies of water like massive ocean currents or hurricanes. Coriolis effect is 100% real with large weather patterns. Anything with a tank of water, so other forces involved. All right. There you go. The common myth. Too small. Sinks and bathtubs hold too little water to the drain. The Earth's rotation too fast. Other forces. The equator trick. Street shows subtle direction, poor force. Right. Well, he didn't do that one, but yeah, large scale. National Geographic explains the planetary rotation of the ocean currents. Moving fluids curved to the right northern hemisphere and left of the southern hemisphere. Right. So these were huge. These tanks of like 1,000 gallons, water tanks for the community that were collected rainwater, and they were saying the engineer guys that were building up were talking about the Coriolis effects and which way as the water drains out, you'll get more pressure from one entrance to the other. What up, Joe? Yeah, scammers all over the place. Top of the day to you, Joe. How you been? So why does water swirl on the drain? Just because? Yeah, I guess just because. Right. So the Earth is round. Yes. Right. And like we also know the Earth is round. I did an experiment when I was a kid. It was like I was working with a buddy when I was like 13. His science experiment, and it was you take tubes and you put them. You use a bubble level and you pound the tube into the ground plumb. Okay. And then you go as far as you can. We went about a mile, and then you pound another tube into the ground plumb. And you need 2 people. You need 1 person at each tube. And then you get on your walkie-talkies. And when the sun goes overhead on one tube and you can look down inside the tube and there's no shadow, or there's no shadow on the side of the stick, you know the sun is directly overhead. And then the other buddy will have a shadow. So that means that your stick is straight up and down, and his stick is straight up and down. But because you're on a spheroid, your stick is like that relative to his stick's like this. So where the sun's directly over top of your pipe, giving you no shadow, he'll have a slight shadow on his pipe. It actually makes sense. Coriolis, what up, Cry? Fish Coriolis effect is real. I wonder whether the effect will be strongest near the equator pole or somewhere in the middle. I don't know. Finish the tree planting season at home. Finish the tree planting season at home in Nova Scotia for a little visit. Some female company, then back to Alberta for October. Turn 21 in 8 days. Hey, wait, in 6 days, I'm going to Florida. How does this Coriolis affect a rigid funnel? Ocean and the rigid parts of the Earth at different acceleration, different latitudes. Well, so it works, doesn't just work on liquids like the ocean. It also works on liquid like the air, which is also a fluid. All right. So this is why we have large swirling. This is why we have the jet streams. And we know about the jet streams originally from wait a second, was that what it was? From not shipping lanes. What were they called? With the sailboats would be drawn around, and when we learned to map latitude and longitude using clocks and the sun using sextants, they would bring you closer and farther from the equator, the line. Maybe the black and yellow sinks were shaped drains. Yeah, maybe, right? Yeah, maybe they pounded dents into them or whatever. Special water, left-handed, right-handed. There you go. Do you want some right-handed water or left-handed water? This is $3. This is $100. Okay. The truth behind it. It's just the same thing? I think it's the same thing.
As soon as this guy drained the water on the northern side of the equator in Uganda, it swirled clockwise. But when he walked just a few feet to the southern side, the water spun in the opposite direction. They claim this is due to the phenomenon called Coriolis effect. Now, although the Coriolis effect does influence the direction of large-scale phenomena, like hurricanes differently in both hemispheres, it's too weak to impact small bodies of water. The swirling direction in these demonstrations is actually controlled by a subtle twist and where the water is poured, making it a tourist scam. As soon as this...
So I can understand that too, but it was interesting that unless he shaped the bowl, but that was pretty quick. It got spinning pretty quick. Maybe it's because he set the flower right above the vortex point where the water would be spinning the quickest. Like if like you could see down to the drain and there's 2 little fins starting the swirling of the water, but he stopped the water with that plate, which looked pretty good, which was different from this video. He's wearing a blue shirt in this one. He had a yellow shirt in the other one. And he was on the dirt, not on the thing. But that would be a possibility too, because it's a very small little funnel. And think about how much that water would be worth. Magical twirly flower, right? Can I buy that flower from you when you're done? Oops. Oops. Even at Paul's tiny effect on scale. Okay, yeah, it says, I admire the hucksterism, though. That's a very slick piece of con artistry. He should be congratulated. Not everyone can be fooled me. I was talking to my kid about the exact phenomenon. Okay, let me see if I can find. Oh, let's see. How about a big body of water, pool, river? So very, very large bodies of water. Let me say. Let's see if we have smallest body of water for Coriolis effect in draining. The stabilizer only stabilizes
the height of a body of water doesn't determine if the Coriolis effect influences its draining. Even big pools don't show this effect unless the water is still for 18 to 24 hours to remove any initial movement.
Equator demonstrations or trickery, spin point. Controlled laboratory tests. So it says the basin, MIT, the basin needs to be at least 2 meters, so 6 feet 7 inches. So yeah, these things were bigger. These things were like 12 feet wide. Easy. Pretty sure Coriolis effect is stronger the closer to the poles you are. It makes sense. Most sense anyway. Poles have perma-circular wings. You also have spun the flowers. He dropped it, right? I thought about that too right before I read that. That's crazy. You're also calling a hurricane. So what do you call a hurricane rotating in the left or right direction? So in the they're called hurricanes and they're called cyclones. In the south, rotating clockwise, they're called cyclones. Now we're off. We're done. You seriously need an inflatable pool, and you have to be able to drain it fast enough. Like you have to be able to drain it fast enough. So, but what you would imagine is that if you had a big ass bucket of water, would it not just spin sitting still, or does it need to be draining to spin? Over 24 hours undisturbed to display. Visual proof. Oh, great. What are we going to do?
A couple of years ago, my friend Destin and I wanted to definitively answer the question, does water actually swirl the opposite direction?
All right, let's take a look here. You have to think forces apply to water and air molecules at asymmetric rigid body below them. Right, so is it the atmosphere pushing down on it that's spinning, or or is it the actual rotation? Because you would imagine that the body would be spinning and when it's not draining. But then would you ever never be able to settle, or is it only when it's draining?
Down the drain in the other hemisphere. At the time, I was living in Sydney, Australia, and Destin was in Huntsville, Alabama. Those are about the same latitude, just opposite sides of the equator. So we created 2 videos that were meant to be watched simultaneously, and if you want to synchronize them yourself, you can click the link in the description. But we also recognized that that was a hassle for some people, particularly watching on mobile devices, and that's why I'm now releasing this extra wide video of both videos synchronized. The Simpsons did a whole episode based on toilets flushing the opposite direction in Australia. Plus, other shows have supposedly demonstrated this effect.
I don't understand
So
this guy
I've
either.
seen
Documentaries
that seem to indicate that which hemisphere you're in determines.
Right, that's what you should always do. See for yourself. Absolutely. Vitamins, people dig them all. Right, straining. Right, because of no. It's straining because of atmospheric pressure pushing down on the water. Not because of gravity. I mean, gravity might play a little bit of a role in it, but the pressure pushing it out of the hole is the air pressure, the atmosphere, the weight of the atmosphere pushing down on the surface of the water, pushing it out the hole. You can only notice Coriolis effect once it starts draining because the momentum has to change relative to the Earth frame. Anything sitting still will be spilling. Right, should be spinning with the Earth. Long time. Channel looks like fun. Thank you, real me, brother. Thank you, brother.
Which way the water is going to swirl. But there's this other group of people, and they seem really confident that it doesn't matter where you're at, the water's going to swirl however it wants.
So is this a real effect or not?
The application of this principle to draining water in Earth's two hemispheres is just bunk.
But have you ever just lived for yourself and figured out which way your toilet swirls? If you try it yourself, you'll find inconsistent results.
Here in Alabama, I've noticed that some turn counterclockwise and some go clockwise.
This sink sometimes drains one way and sometimes the other way.
You see, most toilets have little jets in it, so the swirl direction is determined by the design of the toilet and not which hemisphere you're in.
I can't deal with smokers.
In any container of water, there's always going to be some rotation.
Yeah, not interested. Not interested in smokers. Anything. Were both holes the same size or was one slightly bigger? Right. And like usually there's those rubber flaps in them, so if they were both going opposite directions one time and then both of them going the opposites of each other the other time, then that would make sense. But if one drain always goes left and one drain always goes right, it's still, but I guess they're gonna have something in here, something scientific.
Water is not perfectly still, and it is this rather than the hemisphere that determines which way the water will swirl down the drain.
So it's a myth. Crossing the equator does not mean the toilet's going to change direction.
Not the toilet.
But what if we come into the garage and do a more controlled experiment?
But what if we could eliminate all motion from the water?
This is a 1.5 meter kiddie pool.
I have here a 5-foot wide kiddie pool.
Instead of filling the pool with no vorticity at all, I'm going against the way it's supposed to drain. So I'm trying to fill it with the flow going clockwise.
I actually filled the pool in the anti-clockwise direction to be sure that any clockwise motion we see is not due to the way I fill the pool.
So let's let the water settle for
holes. Are we still talking about science, right? You don't care.
I've left this water sitting here for 24 hours. So it seems like I've damped all of the motions from the filling.
Well, I'm not going to reach in and pull a plug out because that would induce some vorticity. I'm going to use this valve that I have connected to the bottom of the pool.
I really hope this works. Destin, wish me luck.
Good luck, Derek.
I'm about to pull the plug.
Okay, opening the valve in 3, 2, 1. Water should be flowing.
And the pool is draining. But you can't see any motion of the water just yet.
Okay, water's been flowing for a couple of minutes and I haven't seen anything yet, so we're going to put some dye in it.
To help us see where the water's flowing, I'm going to put some food coloring in on the 4 cardinal directions around the pool.
Check it out, it's like a tornado, like right off the bat. We got a counterclockwise rotation. We filled it up clockwise and now it's going counterclockwise.
You can clearly see that the water is flowing clockwise in this direction, and that makes sense because that's how it should flow in the southern hemisphere due to the Earth's rotation.
We have a kiddie pool in my garage,
Discord, but
and the whole Earth is
I think he meant his to pay his bill. I thought maybe he actually meant he wants to send money. Oh, okay? If you want to send some money, yeah, you can send one with Super Chat, or you can send one on PayPal if you want, brother, or Cash App, or freaking there Venmo. 110th grade. His hat. I say, yeah, I definitely have hat shirts. Speaking of which, bam, get you one. Get you a wackadoo hat or wackadoo shirt. 110thgrade.com. I would appreciate it. Thank you. Maybe he was talking about that. I don't know. If he wants to send me some money, I appreciate it. I need all the help I can get. Oh, that's me. There we go.
Rotating, and the water's going counterclockwise because I'm in the northern hemisphere. It's real. This is real.
But you can see what a tiny little effect it is and what extraordinary lengths I had to go to
110thgrade.com here. But if you want to send PayPal or anything like that, I got all that stuff too. Venmo, Cash App, all that good stuff. But here, yeah, you can go to 110thgrade.com. 110 T. Here, I'll put it in the chat. There you go. Where am I at? Bam, bam. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I got it pinned in there somewhere. Oops, wrong thing.
To see this effect.
Yeah, nice.
So
Thank
really, you're
you,
not going to
brother
see it in a
Marcel.
bathtub, and you're not going to see it in a sink or in a toilet, because there are other sources of angular momentum that totally wash out this effect.
We just proved it because we just eliminated variables.
The Coriolis effect
is real.
There you have it. It works.
To understand how it works, imagine a pool with one edge touching the South Pole.
Think about a pool near the North Pole.
The pool is stationary relative to Earth, but every day it's actually completing one full revolution.
The Earth is spinning on its axis, so the pool spins around the pole once a day.
Now you can see the side of the pool furthest from the pole travels much farther every day than the side right next to the pole.
The whole pool is moving, but the part that's closest to the equator has more momentum.
Right.
And the part that's closest to the pole
Bam,
has
thank
less.
you, Super Obama.
So the outer side of the pool is moving fastest towards the east.
No problem,
And as you
Barca.
get
You got
closer to the
something, buddy.
pole,
It's
the
good. I
velocity
appreciate
decreases
it.
down
Get
to
your
zero.
job.
Think about
you
these
worry about you. Get you a job, brother. You get yourself good. You gotta worry about me. I'll be all
velocities
right.
relative to the
I appreciate it.
drain in the middle.
Now imagine we drain the pool.
When we pull the plug, all the water starts moving towards the middle.
Water from the far side is moving too fast relative to the drain, and so it gets out ahead, whereas water from near the pole is going too slow, and so it lags behind.
The side nearest the
There you
equator
go.
is going
Rich,
faster,
you could also
so
have
that
done
water
something like that.
outruns the drain.
Yeah, when I move into the new studio this week, next week, this coming up week, 27th, I'm gonna go widescreen and vertical, and I'm gonna revamp the website. Basically, good. Mr. George, looking operator. Thank you, brother.
But the water nearest the pole is going slower, so it falls behind.
So when the water approaches the drain, it swirls
counterclockwise. This is the reason hurricanes swirl counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere.
And this is the reason cyclones swirl clockwise in the southern hemisphere.
The center of the hurricane has lower pressure, just like a drain, so the hurricane swirls just like our pool.
The higher pressure air rushes into the eye of the storm,
gravity.
and just like in our
Maybe
pool,
caused by
swirls in the
some of the
direction
gravity.
dictated by the hemisphere.
Yeah, widescreen vertical.
And that's the
all
truth
right.
about toilet swirl.
There you go. There you go.
For most of us, thinking is at least
thinking. Yeah. So I figured I'm gonna start putting more time. I'm gonna have more time to put into to the channel in totality. And oh, guys, Elon Musk sent me something today. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, you can't even see it, can you? Oh, can you not see? There it is. Toilet hurricanes. What up, TW? They never cross the... I didn't know that. Yeah. It's pretty cool. If you guys haven't looked into X Money yet, dude, I gotta find out if I can get a link for you guys. But man, I tell you what. Metal. %6 for balances. 6%. So most banks don't even go to like 0.5% for your savings for interest. They give you 6, and it's calculated daily. So that's freaking unbelievable. I think so. It looks like Elon and his set of companies are setting to do some. I think everything that we've been pissed off with, like for our general savings and whatnot, most people get less than 1%. You know, less than 1%, less than 0.5%. If most people don't invest, so this will give people a way to use like Cash App type apps, but get interest on it. Sacco should be on Twitter. There you go. You can join my thing. Hey, let's go on screen. Raid the Ferry, $5. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you, my friend. Let's freaking go. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, brother Raid. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, brother. All right, let's see. The Coriolis effect. Now everything's the Coriolis effect. Why purple was so expensive. Now we can look into the Oberth effect. The world's most dangerous. And you know what I also wonder is that X Money a credit card thing might took me out. Is that X Money card? It's a debit card. It's like so you can put money onto it, pass money around. You can pay for yourself with it. It's not a credit card though, so I don't have like a credit limit. I could only use whatever I have in there. But just like a savings account and like a debit card that you would have, like an ATM card for your bank, but they give you 6% on your balances. So for every $100 you have in there, you make $6 a year on that. So that's it. When on another bank, you get like 50 cents a year on every 100. Thank you, brother. Great, my yes, Jude Hobley. Hey, Jude, take a sad song and make it better. But remember to let her into your heart, and you can start to make it better, 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 better. Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see. Probably, I would imagine, probably Doge coin. Dang, 6%. Yes, right. This is what I'm saying. And it's up to $10 million. It's insured, not $250,000. So think about that. Think about this. If you busted your ass for the next 5 years, put every single thing you could get, got yourself $200,000 together, and you put $200,000 in there, right? You would get $12,000 a year off of just the interest on that, right? Okay, understood. So if you could find a place to live for $1,000 or less, that basically covers your room and board, or most of your room and board for a long time. I mean, you could absolutely hold on one second. But yeah, it's definitely something to look into. Hold on. Yeah, Lonesome Valley. You could switch up the stream by rapping a line from Big Smokies, Dapper Dan, Banjo. $10 million. Yes, not 250,000, 10 million. So think about the people that have $1 million in the bank. They'd be able to just move it over to X Money, be getting 6% on that, $60,000 a year for nothing, just for using that service. Hi, Red Bed. I'm gonna have to get one of those X Money nice. So yeah, that's right. It doesn't make any sense. Most high yield savings accounts are 4 to 4.5%. Like 4.5 is a high yield. Like most high yield savings accounts about 4, and he's beaten that by 2%. That's crazy. Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. And there's no fees to spend it and whatnot. You know, everything's based on X. And yeah, and if people like, if you have a internet presence, like I'm like, it's one of those things where I didn't even realize there was live streaming and stuff like that on X. So now that's got to be something I got to look into, right? So if I mean, I can do it all at the same time. What I'm gonna do with the money I've made so far, I'm gonna buy a computer that like an actual desktop that's got a video card, so I can send multiple streams out. So I want to be able to, so YouTube will be able to take the widescreen, and now they have an option. It used to be that if I did widescreen and also streamed vertical, it just cropped the middle of the widescreen shot. So if I wasn't in the middle, if I was in the lower left-hand corner and had the video, it wouldn't show me. It would just show part of what I was showing. But now it actually splits that and stacks it. So I can have them do that too. And then the other stream that I usually sent to like Twitch or Kick can now go other places. Can you hear the bells of the angels? Actually, it'd say what stipulations to get one. Do you have to have? You have to have X Premium. Yeah, you have to have X Premium. Yeah. You're watching Mad TV. Yeah, you have to have X Premium. Yeah. But I mean, what's you know? I mean, if just to have access to 6%. Especially if you plan on having money in the future, why not get grandfathered in, right? Look at Woot for next up. You see Woot's some Amazon clearance. I've gotten good stuff there, and it's legit. All right, I've never even heard of it. Woot. And I've got 32 gigs. I've got 32 gigs of DDR5 I found when I was cleaning up. So that's gonna save me like $400 on RAM. I don't even know where it's at. Oh, it might be my box out there. I mean, I got it. I found it. So, but yeah, so I got 32 gigs of DDR5. So I could buy a desktop PC with no RAM in it and throw 4 sticks in it. Bam, 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 bam. So that would save me, because that's going to be the biggest cost nowadays is the RAM, and that won't cost me anything because I already have it. Requiring expertise sense has to be able to do that, but it's totally worth it. Totally worth it. I annoy high IQ people today. I did it again at the bar. You annoyed high IQ people? Why? What'd you do? Okay. So it's peer to peer also. So it doesn't go through a bank. It goes directly from like my X Money account to your X Money account. You just 32 gigs. 32 gigs. Yeah, I found 32 gigs of DDR5. Yeah, and it's still in the package. It's still in the package. Yeah. I can't remember where I put it. I definitely put it up. Yeah, I don't know where it's at for a second. I don't even think it's in this room. Yeah, 32 gigs. Yeah, well, there you go. Right. 32 gigs of DDR5. What up, Carter? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, 32 gigs of DDR5. I probably bought that about a year and a half ago, so it's $2,000. Yeah, so I'm gonna be able to buy a fatter processor, a better graphics card, and not have to pay and just get 0 memory in it. And I'm gonna skip 32 gigs of DDR5 in it. All right, so that was and I don't even remember where I got it from. I don't remember buying it. I don't know why I would have bought DDR5 unless it was like the only other time I remember doing bulk buying. I was doing I can't really. I was doing work on servers, and somebody needed a bunch of RAM, and that's the only other time I bought it. Like, I mean, I didn't buy it with my own money. I mean, I bought it from the company, and I don't remember. I don't even think. I mean, it's Corsair too. It's Corsair, so it's not Corsair. I don't even think it's making consumer RAM anymore. I think that's all going to AI. Be careful with heavy use GPU cards. You probably want a new one to be safe. Yeah, well, if I'm saving $2,000 out of the memory cost, I mean, I can't imagine what. I'm gonna stick with Ryzen. So I'm not getting any Intel or anything. So I'm gonna get a Ryzen chip. So I'll stick with AMD. And I've always been happy with that. I've always been, I've always liked AMD. I didn't connect my phone to a computer, so I have no issues so far. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I typically never do unless I want to transfer or something. Yeah, all right, let me see. Gotta run out in there. We'll get that done in a second. You know what? I bet you it's right up there. Let's see. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I don't know. I don't know where it's at, but I definitely have it. I just saw it the other, like 2 days ago. I probably put it in one of the boxes to leave with. Use Gmail for file share. Yeah, I'm just talking about if I take a photo with my phone, I'll turn Bluetooth on my laptop. That just boom, boom, so I can edit it. Corsair is still making RAM. It was Micron that got shut down. Consumer RAM. Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah, but that's what it is. It's Corsair DDR5, 32 gigs, and RGB, which is probably what it was. So if I remember hard enough, we probably got a bunch of RAM, DDR5, high-end server RAM, and some of it was probably RGB. You know, it had freaking color shit on it. So that's I can almost remember it. Yeah, okay. I think that's what it was. So we needed more RAM, and I think the guy that I was working for got some DDR5, but he grabbed RGB stuff, and in order to put the heat sinks on it, the RGB stuff couldn't be there, so he had to get more, and then I ended up with it. Corsair is very good manufacturer. Rather than Corsair stuff than anything else, to be honest. Right, yeah, absolutely, great, absolutely. That's who whenever I do work for high end clients on servers and stuff, it's always Corsair. I mean, if there's no budget, you know. All right, let's see what we can find. Okay, why are some people mosquito magnets? Let's find out.
Some people just seem to be mosquito magnets. In one scientific study, 20% of the people ended up with 95% of the mosquito bites. So if you've ever thought mosquitoes had it out for you specifically, you might be right. And now we know why. Hi, I'm Cameron, and this is Minute Itch. There's this idea that mosquitoes are attracted to people based on their blood type, but the actual evidence for that is weak at best. Instead, there's really good recent research showing that mosquitoes, female mosquitoes specifically, since males don't drink blood, rely on 4 main signals to track down their targets, and as far as we know, none of them are your blood type. The first is carbon dioxide, which, of course, animals exhale with every breath. Mosquitoes can sense CO2 coming from as far as 30 meters away, triggering them to make a beeline, or mosquito line, really, toward a potential meal. And from there, it's a matter of vision. Certain mosquitoes' visual systems are tuned to the specific wavelengths common to human skin colors. And once they get close, within a meter or so, they rely on body heat to home in on their tasty target. But all humans breathe and are human-colored and warm, so CO2, color, and heat can't really explain why some people get bitten more than others. I mean, if you're breathing a little faster or your temperature is a little higher than everyone around you, like if you've been exercising, you might be a slightly more attractive target. But a fourth signal is what really seems to separate mosquito magnets from occasional blood donors. And it's the way you smell. Not like to other people, it's the way you smell to a mosquito. You see, everyone's skin harbors a slightly different blend of bacteria, and each type of bacteria produces a slightly different set of chemicals, some of which apparently smell irresistible to mosquitoes. One study found that mosquitoes were 100 times more attracted to the scents of people whose skin produced lots of carboxylic acid than to the scent of people whose skin doesn't produce that much. And
maybe it's not carbon dioxide they're attracted to. Maybe it's the carboxyl acid that carbon dioxide makes.
Turns out that your particular combination of skin bacteria is mostly governed by your genes. That's why identical twins who have the same genes are way more likely to have the same mosquito magnet status than non-identical twins who only share half of their genes. And since you can't change your genes, you're more or less stuck with how attractive mosquitoes find you. Except that there's one weird way you could become a mosquito magnet, even if you aren't one now. And it's by getting bitten by a mosquito. Which sounds like I'm messing with causality, but hear me out. Certain mosquito-borne viruses like Zika and dengue fever can actually affect the blend of bacteria living on their host's skin, boosting the types that pump out those attractive chemicals and bringing in more mosquitoes.
So if you get bit by a mosquito carrying dengue, then your body produces more dengue or a dengue mosquito attracting juice, and then you get more dengue.
To help the viruses jump into new hosts. And that really bites.
Man, what happened to this channel? That was a good one. Used to be a good one, man. Maybe they're trying to do child hoojabobs. Yeah, that looks blue. How not to think about cells. Yeah, how did ancient Egyptians
How did the ancient Egyptians cut granite with such precision? A theory suggests they may have used a massive circular saw. Such a machine, possibly up to 9 meters in diameter, would have been positioned vertically. Supporters of this idea point to a large trench in Abu Rawash, about 8 kilometers from Giza. Often described as a boat pit, its dimensions have been compared to those required for such a structure. The curved surface of a granite block nearby has also been interpreted as evidence of circular cutting. At an angle of around 45 degrees, a rotating blade could produce this kind of curvature, leaving behind a distinctive lip, likely formed as the stone was moved against the blade.
Bunch of stupid puns.
Today, most archaeologists...
Well, they've always done that kind of work, but it's definitely a different guy that started than the guy that started. At least the guy that started it originally. He would draw at the same time and whatnot, and this looks all AI done now probably, but it used to be good. This Egypt video seems like, yeah.
Agree that the ancient Egyptians used a technique known as sand abrasion. They used toothless copper saws, adding quartz-rich sand, which actually did the cutting. As the blade moved back and forth, these particles gradually ground through the granite. However, this method was extremely slow, cutting at a rate of only about 30 cubic centimeters per hour.
Yeah, that's nothing. So we still don't know, and we still don't know. Military's EV truck, not gonna lie, it does sound copyright. Yeah, probably is. They probably grabbed it off of something and made a short out of it. That happens a lot. Why people become obsessed. Oh, yeah. I heard about this earlier. I guess it doesn't matter if it's short. Hopefully not. But I saw this earlier. This dude was on Twitch streaming to one person, and then he got raided by Stable Ronaldo for 10,000 people. 10,000 people raided his stream, and he got so happy he started to be like, yes, yes. And his mom came in and started beating him in front of everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a video from a guy called Nitro Camden. New streamer, been streaming for like less than 2 weeks. Anyways, context of this clip, he gets raided by Stable Ronaldo with 18,000 viewers. 18, and the mother comes in and has an emotional outburst. And what follows, I have been told, is very uncomfortable to watch. But let's see what's going on here.
Oh, I've never had this much people in here before, bro. I'm just trying to like...
I would like to say, they're already spamming L Mom. So I don't know why they're spamming that already.
I have 10,000 people. Why are you I have 10,000 people in here. I have 10,000 people in here. Why are you taking my stuff? Not doing anything. I have 10,000 people in here. Why are you in the camera?
Oh.
I have 10,000 people in here. They just raided me.
How old is the kid?
Why are you taking my mama? Why are you taking my?
Oh.
Apparently he made.
Why? Because I'm trying to stream.
Apparently he made too much noise, and she started unplugging stuff.
Oh.
So you can call the police because I'm streaming. I have 10,000 people in here watching. I just got raided. What are you doing? So I have to get out because I'm.
Oh, she said she's trying to kick him out of the house.
Jesus. God damn.
She starts unplugging all his
Here we
shit,
go.
taking the shit away.
I don't get a rest. That's just the thing that y'all don't understand. After all this drama, this doesn't make me go to bed and be like, "Whew, I have such a nice, lovely sleep." Go on your phone. I've already emptied out one of your accounts. I just can't get the other one because
she emptied out his accounts.
I don't know what type of empty out account she's talking about, but yeah, I don't know what's going
Trump
on
was
here.
the original
I know there was
FAO.
another clip that for his 18th birthday, his mom left him an "I love you" note saying, "Get the hell out of my house." Yeah, which is definitely a little rough. I mean, this is clearly not a functional family, not gonna lie.
Damn, I emptied out one of your accounts. Yeah, listen, not everybody's nice to their kids, and I don't understand what people are teaching. Okay, Trump. Okay, Trump. Please talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump. Look at the Trump family. Okay, what does the Trump family do? Do you think when the kids turn 18 years old, they get kicked out to go buy another $100,000, $200,000 or $300,000 house? No, they all live together and make a shitload of money together. So when your kids are living there, they don't have to try to go into debt to a $300,000, $400,000 house and then be stuck in with their student loan debt. So your kids living with you until they're 30 is a great way for the whole family to become very wealthy, because then it's not you as the parent or parents paying your mortgage and then your kid having another mortgage or rent that's not going anywhere. If you actually consider the family like a company, like a corporation, like what it's supposed to be, then everybody works together. You work on having a house, put an extension on the house. Everybody move into another house if you need another room, if something's happening. And that way you don't have to go. Imagine having 3 kids and they get kicked out at 18 and they all have to have their own separate houses and everything, their own separate debts. Or everybody could work together, and instead of me spending $2,400 a month on rent, how about I contribute to $1,000 for a bigger house, and then the whole family can move into a bigger house, and then when people are ready to get married, they move out. Like, that seems to be a much better thing than kicking your kids out at 18. I'll never understand it. It doesn't make any sense. If you want to be a successful family, but I think a lot of people don't want to be a successful family. They want their kids gone. Instead of saying, hey, like this kid, I mean, he's probably going to do very, very well because now he's going viral for his mom acting like this. So he's probably going to get a couple $100,000, tens of thousands of dollars in donations to get his own pad, another streaming setup, and all this. So he's going to be fine now. But imagine if he was only streaming to one person when his mom came in and did that. You think that one person's going to help him out? No, absolutely not. It was probably him on his cell phone watching his own stream, right? So like luckily he gets raided by 18,000 people, and his mom says, "I freaking drained your account. I'm going to call the police. I want you gone." So yeah, that's crazy, but I don't understand. Maybe people are so financially illiterate that they don't understand that they can work with their children to make everybody's lives better, instead of like as soon as they have the kids, like, I just want money from you until you're 18. Then your dad, like I guess, I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I'm guessing that she probably got child support or government support or whatever for him until he became 18. And now that that's not coming in anymore, she just wants him gone, right? Maybe why else would you want to just, like, if you were in a bad position and you're not getting child support or whatever anymore, why wouldn't you just want your kid to make more money? What's up, Robert? But that's just so crazy to me. It seems so much smarter to say, okay, I've had kids. How can we create this empire of my last name? And you look at a lot of these things. You look at like what like a lot of the very successful families do. They don't kick their kids out at 18. They don't want them to have to deal with debt. Good. Yeah, I bet you, I would bet you're 100% correct on this child support stuff. It's an education problem. Everything's an education problem. Everything's an education problem. Like, could you imagine if she just bit her tongue until the next day? Like he probably would have been a famous streamer after this. You know, I mean, or maybe it's God's way of saying, I'm gonna show everybody the evil of your mother. Now 18,000 people are going to watch your mom hit you and start and talk about draining your accounts and kicking you out, and she's going to call the cops on you. That's so crazy. I already drained one of your accounts. I can't get access to the other one. That's so crazy that she said that. What, there are 18,000 people in there watching. And she's pulling his shit out, like everything she gave him, she's taken back type thing. The Education Connection is a Connection song is stuck in my head since 2012. The Education Connection. But it's so crazy. It's so crazy to me. I mean, but you see how people talk about abortion these days too. Like they're just like they think it should be up to 18 years old. They let a child murder free here in Hungary after a few years in prison. Actually, incredibly sad. Hopefully, that bad situation ends up being a blessing. It will be. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. He just got raided by 18,000 people, was hit by his mom, abused from his mother in front of 18,000 people. And now Tectones are replaying it. Osmond Gold's replaying it. I'm sure everybody else with a huge following, Penguin Zero, Moist Critical, all of them had videos to talk about it. So that kid is going to get a very, very good hand up. Rockefeller set the standard as far as public school curriculum for America. Of course, yeah, absolutely. And the medical system. They determined what pills. So they were an oil family. That oil family created the pharmaceutical industry based on oil. They're petrochemicals that 99.9% of our pills are made from petrochemicals. So they create a system, a medical industry that licenses these medical professionals under this system that they set up for how they would treat people with these pills that they could make from the oil that they mine. So we need to make as much money out of this oil as possible. So now we can make pills. So we only want you to use the pills that we make from oil. And if you do anything outside, remember during COVID, they were saying if you try anything beyond this protocol, you'll lose your license. Taco Bell, boy. Hi, hello. But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that shit happened. Man. Yeah, it's definitely a blessing from above. A blessing from above. All right, what are we gonna do here? Let's see, where are we at? That's probably too much. Let's see, got some water. All right, let's watch something more uplifting. Shoe on head. Let's see. No way. The sun sneezed, Gene. Data centers. Let's see. Can we make blue topaz with a particle accelerator? Tens of thousands. Still without power. Let's see.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about the newest update in our government policy that has been said
So
to
he's from
be
Iran.
taking effect very soon.
He's an Iranian. This guy's an Iranian.
So before we get right into it, I wanted to say I quit. I'm no longer working in a cafe and I'm no longer doing open projects for companies doing backend, and so I basically have zero income from everywhere except YouTube. The only reason I did this is because basically working from Iran, you basically earn nothing. So since you guys were buying a lot of memberships and stuff like that, and the channel was pretty much funding everything that I've been doing, I was like, okay, you guys are helping me out more to create content, so I prefer to give my full time to you guys instead. Since that's out of the way, I wanted to get that across. We might go to 2 videos a week, maybe more, and then do some gamings and streaming. And if I'm playing a game and chilling, I'm gonna be doing it on my gaming channel. If you haven't checked it out, make sure to check it out. So let's talk about what's been happening in my country. Imagine this, that if you're talking to a foreigner journalist or applying for
It's ACE, ACEAT, ACEAT.
for a scholarship abroad, even organizing a workshop could land you in prison for months or years. Yeah, this is not a dystopian movie, but this is real draft law currently moving through Iran's parliament. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what is the new counter-infiltration plan says and what's true versus what's exaggerated. In mid-August 2026, aka a few days ago, Parliament approved the general outline of a bill called Plan to Counter Infiltration by Foreign Intelligence Services, Governments, or Institutions. In this parliament, out of 258 representatives present, 183 of them voted yes, and only 4 of them voted no, and 5 abstained. The full details are still being debated, but the commission's approved draft is already public, and it's raising serious concerns. Let's take a look at what it actually says. First off, the law creates a new online system. Most contacts with foreign entities, academic, media, culture, or financial will need to be registered. Some will even need prior approval. Have this in your back of your mind.
So why is he streaming from Iran with an obvious financial tie to a Delaware company, Google, YouTube, that's paying his bills?
But here are some of the strictest parts that have gone viral. Number 1, scientific cooperation. Any academic collaborations or scholarships from a foreign university that is not on the Ministry of Intelligence of Iran that has been approved can lead to 6 months to 2 years in prison. Yes, so basically if you're applying for a university abroad, you might end up with
Just applying.
6 to 2 years in prison in Iran because of it. Number 2, media interviews. Speaking to American media, Israel media, or any media funded by them is banned. Penalty will be 6 months to 2 years in prison. Talking to another foreign media requires prior registration.
Yeah, this kid's screwed.
Oh my god. I can't believe I'm reading this, man. Number 3, cultural activities.
Like what you're
Organizing
doing.
workshops or classes that the authorities consider against Iranian culture can mean 5 to 10 years for organizers and 6 to 2 years for participants in jail. Wow. Producing films, documentaries, music, or books
What
that
this
promote
kid's doing.
anti-Islamic culture or show a negative image of the country can result in a lifetime ban from working in those fields. I am not saying anything about the country at all, you know? You guys can think however you like. I am just a messenger, you know? I'm just reading what they said, that you guys were asking if anything happens in Iran, let us know, and I'm just saying what they're saying. That's it. Anyway, number 4, civil society funding. If Iranian NGOs, associations, or political parties receive money or contracts from foreign embassies or organizations without approval, they face prison time and possible dissolution. Number 5, the most severe severe one out of all of them. Making political or legal proposals that are seen as harming the core interest of the system or trying to influence public opinion in certain ways can carry up to 30 years in prison in worst cases.
Yeah, there it
so
goes.
if you
Good thing he
pretty
quit his
much
job.
say anything harming or something that is against the system, harming the system of the country itself, and if you influence the public's opinion about this, and you can go up to 30 years in prison in worst cases. Let's clarify the scholarship claim. You've probably seen tweets saying any student who gets a scholarship from abroad is now a criminal. That's not really accurate. The draft does not ban all foreign scholarships. It only bans the scholarships academic
This kid gets much
corporations
bigger in the
with
arena.
universities or institutions.
Asmongold showed one of his videos. Yeah, Asmongold showed one of his videos.
That are not.
That's probably where he got all of those followers or subscribers and members from. He's got 26,000 subs now. So yeah, Asmongold showed one of his videos 2 weeks ago, maybe 3.
On the official approved list published by the Ministry of Intelligence of Iran. If the university is on the list, it's allowed, though it may still need to be registered. So the claim is exaggerated, but the restriction is still very real and restrictive. The supporters of the bill says its necessity after recent security failures and foreign influence operations. Critics argue it goes far beyond counter-espionage. It could criminalize normal academic exchange, independent journalism, cultural work. Remember, this is still a draft. The general principles have been approved, but the detailed article can still change before it becomes a final law. Even so, the direction is clear, and many people inside and outside Iran watching it closely. Also, I have been seeing a lot of reels about the people who are outside the country cannot return back home because they are considered probably spies or something like that, which they will have a lot of issues. I kind of looked into it more. So if you are a Persian watching this video right now, I looked into it more, and it's kind of exaggerated. So another thing people have been talking about recently in the issue of returning to Iran. This is not part of the counter infiltration plan. It comes from a different law called the Support for Iranians Abroad Law. Basically, that's the whole name. Under this law, the Iranian living outside the country can check in advance through a system called Porseman Taraddud whether they have any open cases that might cause problems when they return to Iran or enter Iran, and officials say more than 98% of people have no issue. The law also removed punishment for those who left the country illegally before it was passed. However, this system is optional, and it does not completely remove the risk for people who have political or security files. Many still prefer not to risk returning, which if you are in contact with someone who is from Iran, you will know they rather not return to Iran. Sadly, I am a bit on edge because this is the second time I'm recording this entire video due to the fact that it's hot again and everyone's apparently using a lot of electricity, so the government is cutting power for everyone for up to 2 to 4 hours a day in the country. So I woke up in the middle of the heat and I started recording. The power went out for 2 hours, and then after I came back I had to record all over this again. But yeah, just wanted to get it out as fast as possible and then edit it for you guys and upload it by tonight so you guys can watch what is currently going on. Other than that, let's talk about the updates of me leaving the country. Me leaving the country is still on schedule. Thankfully, nothing bad has happened yet. I have to renew my visa, however, and after I renew it, I can try to leave the country. So I cannot still say where I'm going first, but after there, we will be proceeding with everything. However, there's another thing that is currently going on. I might not be able to stay in India when I leave this time, but maybe the next time. So
he just said, I'm not going to say where I'm going, but I might not be able to stay in India when I get there.
I still, even if I do leave, I will be vlogging as best as my capabilities. However, I don't think I can show my face yet, sadly, but maybe by the next time I go to India for the rest of my life, I can pretty much show my face and stuff like that, and I can start recording vlogs and stuff like that and do daily videos with my woman. So yeah, I wanted to thank every single one of you members who are making these videos possible for me to record, giving me the energy and giving me the courage to keep going. All of you guys in the membership right now are the only reason I have quitted my job so I can go full-time YouTube for you guys, so you guys can enjoy my content. So yeah, and we are officially announcing the videos for the members only. I will be dropping videos for members only pretty soon, and it's gonna be more personalized, I would say. And also, if any news like this happens, I will try to make a separate video about it. But I kind of want to move forward, trying to go to something more chill compared to, you know, the government stuff. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Have a great—
Jeez, what a life. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night, guys. I gotta go get out to the building and shut the lights off. I left them on. I got them shut down the chickens. All right, I love y'all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.